What's up, gamers? How y'all doing? Got like 7 minutes. You probably have enough time to do this. Probably, who knows? Gaskets. Well, I feel like probably gonna be China. Okay, they're not as high as I thought. Germany, probably. Okay, Germany, let's go. Easy. Could be the it could be the US. It could be. My gut kind of saying US, but I'm not really sure about that one. Ooh, shit. Okay, okay, okay. It's never Vietnam. 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 But I want to guess Vietnam. But it's never Vietnam. I'm guessing it's probably another European country. And then I don't know what the fucking other one will be. Could be South Korea or Japan, actually. You know what? I'm gonna guess Japan. I feel like Japan is up there. Okay. Wait, we can get perfect here. Okay, what's number 5? I feel like it's Italy or South Korea. Or Vietnam. It's never Vietnam. Dude, wait, actually... Ugh. I was gonna say it could be India, but I don't think it's gonna be India. I don't think they don't got no fucking gaskets in India. Oh, what happened to that chat? Was that like a bot? Yeah, it was a bot. Okay. A kick. That does work, right? Yeah, it does. Okay, we're good. It's never Vietnam. I'm guessing Italy, but I'm not confident. Italy's number 7. The UK, I would not have guessed the UK. Okay, you know what? Fucking 98.86% though. Okay, okay. That's pretty good. $300 billion, a bunch of oil and gold. A little bit of broadcasting equipment. I feel like raw aluminum. I feel like there's gotta be an African country, unless it's like it could be Middle Eastern, I guess. But 300 billion is quite a bit. Oh man. I know it's not fucking Tanzania, but I'm guessing Tanzania. Because if it's below, I know it's in Africa. If it's above, I know it's... Well, actually, if it's to the east, it'll be in the Middle East. Above it could be. I don't think it would be a European country, but... Alright, alright. Bro, I don't know. Bro, Jordan, maybe? Oman? or Qatar? Qatar? I think Qatar is more than 300 billion in exports. Maybe not. Or Brunei is the other one there. I'm guessing Qatar. Fuck. Fuck, what? I thought Brunei was way Am I thinking of the wrong country? What's the other micronation off of Saudi Arabia? Is it just Saudi Arabia, actually? Yeah, I didn't think it was. Oh, we're about to start. Fuck. What's up? Wow, I see how it is. Okay. Hold on, we have time. My last guess. Fuck. There's no way it's Iran, right? United, yeah, fuck. The UAE, I wouldn't have guessed that. Actually, I could have guessed the UAE if I had locked in a bit more. What are these people doing? Where are these people? What's up, Sauce Rama? Welcome back. So, bro, fucking everyone is. There's one person not in the VC, but he's in the waiting room. Gibbs just has to bring him in. Well, I guess you know what I can show you guys? Bro, check this shit out. Bro, I've been working on this shit. It's a joint project between me and ChatGPT. We must feed the infinite suffering machine. Let's go. Who's the infinite suffering machine? The whales are infinite suffering machines. Are you referring to them? The whales that eat shrimp and then poop out a bunch of stuff that feed shrimp so they don't actually reduce the shrimp population. That's the only infinite suffering machine I know of. There was this chart. Hold on, where's? I don't know if I have the original. It's
all right.
Oh shit, we're about to start. Anyway, I made this. By me, I mean, actually, technically, I think this version of it was mostly me. ChatGPT did help initially, but I didn't trust it, and I went through and verified most of it. Technically, I haven't verified all of it, but I have no reason. Like, if it got all the data right, including the calculating the z-scores correctly for like Dallas, and I know it has the data right for every
You are
bank.
gay.
I have no reason to believe that.
Have you seen him on
I got
Piers?
the rest of it wrong.
He was just on Piers. They were like, what would you do if one of your kids came out as gay? And it's just like the longest pause ever. And he's like, I'd collapse.
Oh, just so you know, that fucking fire alarm right there, the batteries are changed. You can hear no hood crickets when coming out of my mic.
This is true, I guess.
Oh, not the crickets, bro.
Streams in the channel waiting to get pulled up, by the way.
All right, Ben, I'm
Hello.
1 second here. We getting going here. So I like literally was just outside fucking Getting new furniture. We got new fancy furniture for the backyard. Fancy.
I like fancy. I like
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, we're moving up in the world. We got all new furniture in the house. We got all new furniture outside. You know, the ranch doing okay. We're getting expanding the cattle. We're trying to save you Americans with our American beef. You know, I guess we'll talk about it here in a moment. All right, well, welcome all, everybody in. Let's see, we should be live now. Everybody good? Let me make sure I'm muted. All right, cool. Welcome everybody to Give Me a Break. Some of y'all are new, some of y'all aren't. We're getting back to it now after a nice 2-week hiatus. Gibbs had to do birthday degeneracy and all that. Gray doesn't know anything about that because he's a saint. But for the rest of y'all, I was hungover for about a week straight, and it was rough. So we're back now, and we're here to hand out some whoopings. I'm excited. We're going to talk about the economy under Trump, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I know there's some contention. Let's start with you, Average Debate Enjoyer. Tell us about what your thoughts on the economy are.
All right, Average Debate Enjoyer, YouTube and X. Generally, it's better than it was last year. If we go by every single metric, we were being told the economy was good under Biden. Pretty much every one of those metrics is better. The last PCE report for the 2 months that came out, October and November, was pretty damn good. We saw a lot of great that came out of it. A little bit of downside, but generally pretty good. PCI reports are looking good. We see inflation's cooling. That being said, it is a mixed bag because the trade war has not produced significant wins on an economic level within the United States, though it is helping to win us on the world stage, maybe get us better trade deals. Most of those trade deals with the smaller countries have just been accepting the 10% tariff and taking it like a man and doing nothing in retaliation. So I would argue that the trade war is the hindrance that's holding Trump back, and his inflation numbers right now are almost as bad as Biden's. So it can't be that good if he's getting viewed that poorly.
Well, I'll tell you another indicator of a good economy is luxury products being purchased and repaired. And I'll tell you what, I feel pretty good because I just cracked my Rolex Sapphire crystal, and now I'm gonna have to pay $2,200 to get that bitch fixed. So yeah, that's fun stuff. So that'll contribute to the economy. How about you? Go ahead, Castle. Tell us what your thoughts are.
Sure. So before I get into my thoughts,
Bro's
hand
doing
up if you
broken watch
think
fallacy.
last year of Biden's term, the economy was good for you personally. All right, hands up if you think the economy is good for you personally today. Exactly what I thought. Most people would raise their hand and say it's better today, but the fact of the matter is that we live in a K-shaped economy. Even Gibbs just pointed out today, the rich are doing better. The middle class and poor are still struggling. We saw this under Biden. We're seeing it
5v1.
similarly under Trump. The Biden inflation rate hit a low of 2.4% in September. The Trump inflation rate hit a low of 2.3% and has only gone up since last April. So inflation isn't abating. We're seeing a lot of people still struggling to pay for food, groceries, housing costs are still high, mortgage rates are now going back up. So we live in an economy where there are two sides to it. I think you don't have to listen to us because it seems like most people today think the economy is going great, personally, but the polls say otherwise. It's not about whether we feel good. It's about whether the American people feel good. Trump's polling on the economy is pretty bad. His polling on inflation is even worse. So I don't see how we can say that the economy is doing well if the majority of Americans aren't feeling it. This happened under Biden, and it was Biden's biggest mistake when he would go out and say the economy was doing well. The voters disagreed. Trump is trying to do the same, and I think it's a mistake to do it now as well.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go to one of our newest guests here, Mr. Streamlift. How you doing? What do you think about the economy today?
Wonderful. I find it interesting that we love collapsing the whole economy and the sun rises and sets on Trump. Whether you're conservative, you're a liberal, every day you're not complete unless you say Trump 30 to 47 times. So in this type of environment, we can take a look at the different sectors, and what we're seeing most importantly for national security and for our economy is we're seeing a lot of investment in not just actual infrastructure for AI and advanced technologies, but we're seeing a regulatory environment that's starting to make that much more attractive in the United States, which plays to some of our greatest strengths. The First Amendment gives us protection on speech. The 10th Amendment gives states the ability to regulate everything, including AI. So the federal government has no particularly strong standing to regulate it at a nationwide level, which means that the U.S. is primed for an exciting future in AI and advanced technologies because if for no other reason then, we do not have the same legal restrictions other countries have. So for me, the future is very bright. Personally, I'm seeing projects take off. We're being able to move at speeds that frankly were never before possible. So from my perspective, I think there's always winners and losers, and the folks that are taking advantage of, you know, advanced tech and that are participating in that economy are doing really great. And then I think it's a mixed bag for everybody else, and we're going through a transition where we're going to be switching to new jobs, new roles, new functions. Companies are reorganizing around AI native flows, and people who are temporarily displaced by this will soon find likely better paying jobs, more value in the economy, and overall the U.S. will remain a strong backbone of the global economy. Daddy Trump, he's making that all possible.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go to non-fun.
Yeah, I don't think the economy's in a entirely catastrophic place right now or anything, but I think we have good reason to believe that almost every one of Trump's policies is making it worse. And I think the way you should analyze this stuff is looking at the policies they're doing and look at the evidence that we have from economic theory, look at the evidence we have from historical stuff, and analyze whether or not the counterfactual would be different. Or, you know, would be better or worse. I think it's, I know Tyler loves when I say this, it's a little silly to just like look at the month to month data, like by president. That's not how you should do good causal inference. And, you know, there are like certain things you can look at now, like we have seen hiring rates go down. We've seen unemployment go up slightly. Those are, I think, plausibly related to the tariffs and the uncertainty from them, because we know we have good evidence from past experience that uncertainty harms investments, that tariff shocks harm asset values, that tariffs increase prices, and we've already seen tariffs increase prices. I think the deportations as well are likely constraining some job growth in the industries that rely on them. If Trump actually goes through with any of his stuff of restricting high school immigration, restricting H-1B visas, that would harm our innovation in America a lot.
Hold on. Let him finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I think that would harm our ability to innovate in the U.S. And I think Trump, from my knowledge on the AI thing, has not been super deregulatory with regard to AI. Is my understanding. I thought he wanted to. I forget what the regulation was, but there was some regulation, or it might have been preventing states from regulating it. Which I guess is that would be deregulation if I remember that correctly. But on the I think a big reason why we haven't seen things been worse is because Trump doesn't follow through with all of his crazy, insane shit. You know, we haven't seen effective tariff rates go as high as the announced rate. He didn't follow through on the interest rate cap for credit cards. He withdrew his nomination for like the crazy BLS commissioner. But like ultimately, it's totally unacceptable policy. A lot of it's just based on lies or at best misunderstandings of how things like trade deficits work. And we have every reason to believe the economy would be doing better if Trump was not in office.
All right. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Mr. Grid. You're muted. I thought on my end. You muted on your end.
No.
Yeah, Grid, you're muted.
You've got to unmute yourself in Discord.
Why are you good?
Fucking Discord. I was trying to be polite though. All right, so welcome. Thanks for having me, Gibbs. Again, it was great. It's gonna be a great debate tonight. I really enjoyed the Cope Fest that I just heard from Nonfon talking about possible this and maybe that and all of this nonsense. It's great. I love it. It's wonderful. I really love big spending liberals and neo-Keynesians and social democrats or whatever the fuck, democratic socialists, pardon me. I always get that backwards. They always talk about how, the things that are working today shouldn't be working, and whatever nonsense that they want to throw out there to spend more money and do more things is going to work and stimulate the economy and pump trillions and trillions of dollars back into nonsense and wealth redistribution and all kinds of cool things, new catchphrases like that. Cradle to grave programs. I love cradle to grave programs. Those are fucking awesome. But we're only 1 year into Trump's second term, which was interrupted, obviously, by the absolute failure, abysmal failure of Biden, where we went from most people could get a mortgage under 3% interest, and we went to a cap of almost 11% if you couldn't get prime, which most people couldn't. And that is terrible. 11% on a mortgage, by the way, is soul crushing in the economy. Soul crushing. I don't care what else you want to say about Trump, him getting the interest rate back down to where normal people can afford a normal-ish mortgage of 6-7% is wonderful for the economy, and you can't deny that. If you do, you're just absolutely insane. 100%. Our economy is growing strong at over 4% in key quarters. Stocks are hitting records. Precious metals are up. Basically, you can't point to a singular segment of actual wealth and say, yeah, it sucks, it's bad. With the minor exception of maybe imported goods, which I don't give a fuck about. By the way, Non-Fon preached the gospel of how tariffs were going to ruin the economy. Trump was going to tank the fucking economy. He preached the gospel of this. And I told him, I'm like, Non-Fon, I don't believe so. I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe what's going to happen is it's going to fuck everybody up if they don't play ball with us. And you know what? China's economy is in the toilet right now. It really is. And they're really having a lot of problems over there. And you know why? It's because of fucking tariffs. Because Trump said, my dick's bigger, and this is how this is going to play. And you know what? That's exactly how it's played out. I honestly don't really care. There's nothing you can point to as a success in Biden's administration that wasn't part of a Trump era program. And now we're looking at Trump putting back in key pieces, going back to a more Austrian model instead of this neo bullshit. And I like it. I like it a lot. Now, does Trump do everything he says he's going to do? But no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He says shit to trigger people like Non-Fon into like freaking out. And their hair's on fire. They're running down the hallway. Oh shit, this is going to suck. And then of course he doesn't do that. And we all know that. And it's fun and it's great and it's awesome. Anyway, the socialist playbook, as we all know, ends in debt, dependency, stagnation, stagflation, all of those things. And we know that. And so we got to keep it up. And now look, rightfully so, we can label Trump the most socialist president in recent history, but his economic policies at least are sound. And I'm going to yield my time at that because this is going to be fucking great.
Excited. All right, fair warning, guys. I am in a particularly rage mode mood today. So if people get muted, don't take it personally. We'll get you unmuted and you can yell again in a second. Somebody just be trying to get order, and I don't feel like dealing with, trying to get in. All right,
You're looking nice tonight, though. You're looking pretty swag.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, so I guess this one, I think the vest is new. I've had the jacket and the shirt for a while. Anyway, distractions. Co-Fandy, by the way, they're getting better. I just bought some tracksuits from them. Big fan. Expanding out of the luxury clothes business. Big fan. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about this bullshit. What are we thinking about gas prices? Trump put out a meme a couple weeks ago, and which I think is hilarious that the administration puts out memes. Big fan of that. But they put out a meme about gas prices, and I think that's something that speaks to the average person. Do we think gas prices are a good indicator of the economy? What are some other good indicators of how the economy is doing? Let's go with there. We'll open it up and y'all can attack.
Yeah, so that's I kind of wanted to address that in the greater point of addressing most of Trump's policies are making the economy worse. I think it's just tariffs that might be making it worse. Everything else has been great. Massive deregulation, going hard on U.S. energy. We're seeing the prices plummet of U.S. energy, and we're exporting significantly more of it, which geopolitically allows people to leave Russian energy as well. Tax cuts, a ton of exports. All these things are great for the economy, and what we saw is the predicted Q4 growth of the U.S. economy is 5.4. That doesn't necessarily
that's down by now. That was because the way GDP now works, it gets certain data before it gets to trade data.
It's down to potentially 4.3 to 5.4 right now from the Atlanta Fed. Yes, I saw.
Yes,
that.
It's down. It's down. It's down because the GDP now, they get different data at different times, and sometimes imports don't subtract from GDP, but the net effective imports on GDP is zero.
Substantial quarterly
That's true.
growth.
That's true. That is good growth, but that's annualized growth, and most of that growth is basically making up for the contraction that we had in Q1 GDP. If you look at like what 2025 GDP overall is estimated to be, it's like I think it's roughly 2.7%. It's not estimated to be
Q1 was
particularly
before the tariffs, right? That started in April.
For the most part, but it was an expectations game, right? It was because companies were delaying investment so that they could stock up on inventories before the tariffs came into effect.
Yeah, but we saw after that happened, after the election ended, the imports.
Hold on. Do you recognize those are negative? Do you recognize that is dead weight loss? Do you recognize that is dead weight loss?
Let me get the whole sentence out. Let me get the whole sentence out. After Trump won, we did see a spike in imports, but they leveled back out, and now they're back up to higher 2024 numbers. While we're also seeing exports rise substantially. October was the closest month to closing our trade deficit that we've ever seen. And that means more output from U.S. companies, less output from other foreign companies.
That's totally false. That's totally false. Hold on. That's totally, that is totally false.
We already
That's a fundamental.
we did the one-on-one a couple weeks ago.
That's a fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits. Trade deficits obviously do not necessarily displace U.S. production. That's a totally insane, obviously bullshit assumption.
When you're selling significantly more goods,
just to be clear, do you concede that companies delaying investments, using their money, using their cash flow to stock up an inventory instead of doing productive investments, that is deadweight loss, that leads to lower growth?
It could potentially, but that was months ago that happened. That was months ago that happened in May and March. That shit was gone. But you're right.
But your point was, that was before the tariffs, but it was expectations. People expected tariffs to be in place, and the mere expectation. Let
Nathan finish.
He asked a question. I was just saying, in January of the next year, that's leveled out. That stock has been long gone since June.
I'm saying your point about that being before the tariffs. What I take from that is you're trying to imply that actually clearly the tariffs can't be that bad then or whatever. I'm telling you the companies import. Yes, I'm talking about quarter one growth too. I'm telling you, companies delaying investments so they can stock up in inventories, that is deadweight loss. That is bad for the economy. That is negative for growth. Obviously, once the tariffs were repeat that.
They're also delaying investments because of interest rates. Interest rates weren't coming down just because the Fed.
I think that's more that. I think that's more accurate. I think that's a more accurate.
So that is kind of the whole point of interest rates, or half the point.
Yeah, when the Fed gets every single prediction wrong, and they're delaying the interest rate drops because they're getting every single month wrong.
Look. Hold on. So I think you should just look at nominal GDP growth. I think nominal GDP growth is probably roughly the best indicator of where the stance in monetary policy is. Nominal GDP growth was not constrained that much. It's been it overshot during COVID, and it's been, to my knowledge, roughly 4%, basically where it should be since 2022. So I don't think it's had substantial effects, but rates were more restrictive compared to the Taylor rule for most of Biden's term than where interest rates are now. You can see that's true.
That was because they got inflation wrong then as well.
Wait, Tyler, do you concede that for longer under Biden's term, rates were above the Taylor rule than it has been under Trump's term?
Yes, if you compare a 4-year term to a 1-year partial term, then yes, you are correct, because that's 4 times the amount of time.
Well, even so, I believe even in Trump's first term, but I think they are. I think right now the federal funds rate is slightly above where most of the Taylor rule suggests it would be, but it's been it was under. Where the Taylor rate suggests it would be under Trump's term this year already. I
want to go to grid here, but first, to Nonfon's point, I remember debating economy on many panels, and on one of the panels we were talking about the jobs reports, right? And we were talking about how the Biden jobs report would say one thing, and then it would come out, instead of 3.2%, it'd be 2.7 or 2.8, and I don't remember if it was jobs report or if it was the interest rates or GDP growth. I don't remember which one. I've had a weird day today, so I haven't been as prepared as I'd hoped. But it's in my whatever. But one of the reports recently came back, and it was way off. And to me, that's almost the same argument that I was making against the DIMs, right? I was like, oh, okay, they're saying something high, and then and people invest and do stuff on that, and then it comes back, and then the report's way low. I don't know which one's specific off the top of my head. I'll look for it in a moment. But Grid, what do you think about what's been said so far? You looked like you were trying to get in there.
I think they were getting kind of in the weeds there. I mean, the reality is that the GDP growth through deregulation and tax relief had GDP hitting 4.3-ish, which was annualized in Q3. And that's the fastest in the last 2 years of Biden's term. It just was. You can't deny that. I really don't give a shit about any other theory. I only care about what the numbers were, and what the numbers were is it was the fastest in 2 years, which is crazy, right? It's just weird.
I think when I bring up job growth under Biden, you're going to say the exact opposite, but okay.
Now, obviously,
I think that's kind of my point, that I was making non-fond. Go ahead, Grid.
That's driven by consumer spending. Obviously, we have people who are willing to spend more. They have more confidence because they have Trump in office. He, as president, inspires confidence, and you can't get away from that, right? And he just does. Now, and some AI,
What's the evidence for that?
You could argue AI investment spurred some of it, and some other, there's some other things back there on the back end that could or probably do. 2017 tax cuts, for example, come to mind. But um, I just don't. I don't really see where we're going to argue GDP growth. Now, I can predict that what Nanfan's going to say, because I know that we have a slowing in the workforce, right? Even though GDP has grown, we only had 580,000 new jobs created, which is a slowdown previous comparatively. I'm sure that that's something he's going to mention, and he's right about that. But a lot of that is compared to back just a few years ago during COVID, when we had a construction boom, and those jobs just don't exist now. We're not building as many houses. We're not going to build as many houses, and I think that's normalization of the market. I don't know if he wants to argue that or not. I don't know that it's worth the time to. We could just accept that it is, but certainly either way, I'm good with it.
If I can,
I think somebody slowed down in job growth.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm picking on non-fun here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Castle.
I want to be picked on. I got 500 things to say.
We'll Castle, then non-fun, you can go, then we're going to go to stream riff. Go ahead.
One of the things Grid brought up was consumer confidence. I don't know if I can share my screen or not, but consumer confidence.
Yeah, I can. If you send it to me, I can share it. I might be able to share it.
But consumer confidence numbers came out a couple weeks ago. It's the lowest it's been since COVID hit in 2020. So consumer confidence is at an all-time low since the COVID low. And again, I think that you can point at GDP. Again, growth under Biden with GDP was just as good. You can say it's 0.2, 0.3% higher under Trump, but nobody really cared about GDP under Biden either, because it doesn't mean that people are getting money in their pockets to afford basic goods. And I think that that's the problem here, is that
oh my God, kill me. Oh my God,
is not going to change the fact that the polling shows that the economy and inflation is minus 20, minus 25% underwater for Trump. And I don't know how else you can explain that.
Also, you should be able to share, by the way, now, if you want to. Go ahead, not fun. But
I would also, I would also hope that we would. So I would also hope that we would concede that like uncertainty, but like we have indexes of specifically trade uncertainty, but also just general economic uncertainty is very high right now, mostly because of the whole Trump back and forth thing on tariffs.
So why do you hate American technology workers? Non-fun.
Why am I what?
Advocated for H-1B, which was originally offered as a solution for saying, "Hey,
wait, hold on, wait, before we can talk about H-1Bs, but can we address like any of the 500 things right now? So I just want Grid and
your opening. You said
I saw.
I'm going back to where you were. We can go talk about some other.
Yeah,
things
I have issues with like a ton of the shit a lot of people said. Wait, so I just want to be clear, partly for anyone who cares about the confidence thing. We've seen the dollar go down partially against other currencies go down, partially because a lot of other investors in foreign countries are selling their U.S. assets. Do you guys concede that that is true?
I'm with you on that. I'm not saying confidence is pretty low. It's not because of Taco Trump, though. That's a silly narrative, but it is low because
consumer spending is up, and that indicates confidence in the market from Americans. Sure, foreign nationals will do what foreign nationals do. I don't.
Grid, do you think consumer spending is up because things cost more or cost less?
I think it's a combination of things do cost a little bit more for sure. But again,
do you think that richer folks are spending more money and folks in the middle class are struggling still, or do you think middle class is doing okay?
Well, I'd have to believe that there's such a thing as a middle class to begin with, but let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say that
you don't think there's a middle class?
Not really, no. Okay. Not really. I think we have an idea of a middle class, but I don't know that it exists.
I recognize consumer spending has been like on an upward trend because it's typically on an upward trend, right? The question is whether or not Trump's policies are making that better or worse. And I think all the evidence we have suggests that it's making it worse. So I would like, do you guys,
For why?
do any
Why
of you
do you
can
think
see that the evidence
Why
suggests
do you
that
think that?
tariffs? Because I'm about to say, so for example,
Sure.
like that study that everyone likes to cite for the San Francisco Fed, right? They found that tariff shocks lead to a negative wealth shock because they reduce future growth expectations because they're an inefficient tax, and they lead to increased uncertainty. Those are both things that lead to, in the short run at least, decreased consumer spending.
But the tariffs
wouldn't
are
say-
actually working in our favor and improving our trade ratio. I would never
So
concede.
even so,
that
if
the
for
tariffs are
so
hurting
that
the
that's not true.
economy.
I mean, if you just look at like the trade deficit relative to GDP, I mean that's like there was a big increase before the tariffs were implemented, and then it's like come back up to basically where it was. If you guys like understand how savings and investment work, then it would make tariffs don't necessarily reduce the trade
I
deficit.
really
There's a lot.
understand how savings and investment work, and I'm
Grid,
buying
what is
companies and
what is on the macro level? What is savings minus investment equul?
I'm sorry, savings minus investment.
What is
Wait, what's
national
this
savings
word?
versus national investment equal?
You know he's a multi-million-dollar business owner, right?
And we're talking about
No,
macroeconomics.
look,
What is
no,
national
it's-
savings minus national investment equal?
I actually I
It's a
can't
trade
tell you
deficit.
right
It's a
off the
trade deficit or a capital account surplus.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Is I'm saying I think the evidence suggests that a lot of trade trade deficits are not driven by imported goods. They're driven by decisions over how much to save, decisions over how much to tax, decision about that foreigners make over how much to invest in the U.S. And I don't believe you have any evidence to the contrary of that, quite frankly. That doesn't
we have
mean
500.
I mean,
What was it? India just did a 500. Is it $1 billion investment into the United States? Isn't that
that
what they
increases the
did?
trade deficit. If it's investment.
Sure, but that's
good for
investment
us,
into
though.
our country. It's good for us. It may be bad for
If
them.
you
but it'll
think,
be good for
then
us.
why do you care about the trade
It might
deficit?
be bad for that metric, but, like,
Grid,
not
you
fun.
recognize the trade deficit is
I didn't
entirely
say anything
offset by
about the trade
investment into.
deficit. You
Yes,
did.
you did.
I
You said the
that
tariffs are
tariffs
improving our trade
working
balance.
because you literally said that China would not play ball with us and it would hurt us more than it does them, and yet it is not.
I have
Our
no
economy is
clue
growing.
if I-
Theirs is shrinking.
That doesn't.
That is
First
kind
of
of-
all, that's not even. Again, that isn't even incompatible. I'm not sure exactly what predictions I made. I don't believe I ever came out and made like strong predictions. I don't believe that's true. But I stand by everything I said with regards to all the evidence suggests from both theory and empirical evidence that tariffs do reduce growth. You can say our economy is growing.
But, okay,
but
so,
again,
why
the
is
question
our
is
economy
always what is the
growing then?
counterfactual.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me why our economy is growing then.
Great. Do you think? This is a hypothetical.
Don't
Grid.
answer a question with a question. Just
Let's say.
answer the question.
I think the economy is growing because there's still creative destruction. There's still workers being employed to more productive firms and people coming up with new ideas to make new stuff. And
Yeah.
that's
Tax
generally what
cuts,
drives growth.
deregulation, energy
Yeah.
spikes as well. Most
Weird.
of Trump's policies are good.
I
for
think
building houses.
I think the deregulatory stuff has like some effect on growth. I do think that is true. But
yeah, let's go. Let's go to
What is
yeah.
the
Let's go to
fastest industry
let's
going?
go to you, Steve Murphy. Yeah,
Wait,
go
wait,
ahead.
wait,
If
wait,
you
I
got-
just wanna- wait, hold on. I just want to ask Grid. I
What is
just
the
want to
hope
ask
of all
Grid.
the
Grid,
future of
Grid.
humanity right now?
I actually can't hear any of you because
Yeah, okay, let's go one at a time. Steve Murphy, you go ahead. You've been waiting a second. Go ahead, and then we'll go back. Well, I'm sure non-funds will respond.
Yeah,
I know
so
he
as
wants to ask
someone
Grid
who's
something. Go ahead.
as someone who's probably never created a job, you probably don't understand this. But the fact of the matter is, regulatory certainty is more important than getting uncertainty and you don't know what's going on. So while I don't agree with what Daddy Trump has been doing with AI, he has been providing certainty in the market and stability, which lets folks be able to make decisions based off of what's actually going to happen instead of being afraid to invest. The American
What's the evidence for that?
legal system has the strongest foundation for any AI development anywhere in the world because of our free speech protections and our capitalism. So we're in an environment where we've seen enormous amount of money go into infrastructure on this, and you can say, well, I don't like AI, or I don't think the government should be involved. I don't like that the US took 10% ownership in Intel. I think that that's a bit wrong, to put it mildly. However, fundamentally, you're sitting here saying that when AI is literally growing at rates we've never seen technology for humans ever grow again, and Trump has said, hey, let's make it really stable so we know what we're working with. Maybe they're bad laws, maybe they're wrong guidelines, but at least there's some stability. We can start building forward. And you're saying this is a bad president for our economy. It's insane.
So I'm relatively pro AI, and I don't like AI regulation. I don't think there's actually been that much of it, even from Democrats. Even though at least I understand they might have some rhetoric about it. I don't think they've actually proposed very much stuff. But
I mean, they're like censoring the internet already.
I would number one, I don't think there's any evidence that you can provide that Trump giving regulatory certainty over AI is more important than the uncertainty he's given through all the other policies that he's doing. You can just look, like, we have aggregate measures of like tariffs,
what
like
policy?
deportations and immigration restrictions, like some of the weird, like.
Oh, we're going back to immigration. What about H-1B? Like, why do you hate American tech workers? You said H-1B is necessary
because they're white. Hold on. I got like, we can talk about that. I got like 10.
You go over like 3 different things. I
say.
bring 2 points that I care about, and then you want to one round. That's fine. Go for it. Go for it.
because I want to respond to like 5 different things that are put on the table that I think are like totally inaccurate. So
I'm
don't
sorry
remember
that it's hard to hear this much truth.
So I want to add. So I don't think you have
hold
any
on.
evidence.
Let Nonfon respond. Yeah, let Nonfon respond.
I don't think you have any evidence that Trump
is
providing.
fighting 3 of y'all right now. It seems like. So yeah, go ahead, Nonfon. Try to get everybody's things. I'll give you a second here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think there's any evidence that suggests that the regulatory certainty around AI regulation is more important than the tariffs or immigration restrictions or deportations or any of the weird executive orders he does about, oh, I'm gonna ban institutional home buyers from buying homes, right? And that's probably that's not been enforced to my understanding. There's no evidence of that. You can look at indexes of economic uncertainty. I just want to go back, like, for grid, like, just to be clear, if we do a minimum wage somewhere and then employment increases, you can't say, oh, look, we did a minimum wage and employment increased, therefore employment or minimum wage increases employment or doesn't decrease employment. There's a fixed effect. And all the do you concede all the evidence suggests that the fixed
let
effect?
Nonfon finish. Go ahead.
Do you concede all the evidence suggests that the fixed effect of tariffs on growth is negative?
No, I do not. I won't concede that because the evidence proves that currently it's net positive. So I'm not going to concede that at all. What I would like to ask is, you said there were multiple things in response to Stream Rift. Name one. There were multiple issues. Name one. Just tell me what the issue is.
Multiple.
What are your 5 issues?
What I was saying is, there's multiple things I want to respond to. So one, which is that point, we should be thinking of the counterfactual.
No, you weren't talking about that. I'm sorry. Maybe we need to back up. StreamRift asked you a question. You responded by saying, well, there are multiple things that I could say about this, or multiple indicators. Or which one? I mean, pick one. When I just.
Oh, do you mean economic uncertainty?
It's not that I don't believe you. It's just.
Look up
I guess he wants you to go. I guess it's just a paraphrase. He just wants you to go through all your points real quick that you had.
Not all of them. Just look. One guy asked you a question.
Bullet point. What are they?
He asked you a question, and then I felt like you dodged it, and I just wanted to.
Yeah, 25
I don't know what the hell I
died.
I think what is what you're referring to when I said you can look at a number of different uncertainty indexes.
No, I'll recycle this for you, Nonfon, and I'm just trying to deal with the clarity here. I have 3 points that I want to talk to you about. And you said, no, we have 5 things. And Grid's literally just saying, what are the 5 bullet points? So you're saying there's these things that you want to talk about.
I was just about to go over that. And then you guys said, no, that wasn't what you're talking about. So one was the thing about Grid. I wanted to pressure Grid on comparing to the counterfactual rather than just saying that the economy is still growing overall. I want to eventually get to the interest rate stuff because the president not control interest rates. Even the Federal Reserve does not really control mortgage rates. They control short-term interest rates. And I think there's reason to believe that the big beautiful bill and the tax cuts are going to actually increase long-term interest rates because they increase the U.S.'s total borrowing, and that's going to be bad for mortgage holders overall. Uncertainty is also.
The big beautiful bill gave a huge tax incentive. It went from $10 million to a $15 million tax incentive to invest in qualified small business stock. That has to encourage investors. I hear people excited about that.
That might shift investment
over 6 years. No, if you go over 6 years, right, you sit on it for 6 years, 100% cap gains exemption. It makes it very attractive to investors. But you don't like that?
That might shift investment from large businesses to small businesses, or shift a little bit from consumption to investment. But there's no, like, that's not going to that won't have a huge net effect on investment, especially because large businesses tend to be more efficient. That's why they're large.
That's not true.
That is absolutely true. What's the evidence that it's not true?
Over time.
$9 trillion in investment this year on the books, and
totally false. Totally false. That's a totally false number.
That's
like you can look at there's double they literally double counted like fucking Heinz making a making some new investment in the U.S. because they literally. No, that's the White House. I know what you're saying. You're
Listen,
citing
we
like
can
you're
trust.
citing
We
the-
can
you're
we
citing
can
the
trust
White House. You're
Trump's
citing the
reporting
White-
on the economy just as much as we can trust the Democrats reporting on
True.
voter
You're
fraud.
citing
You
the
know
White
what
House.
I'm
You're
saying?
citing the White House
So-
number. Most of those things are either like they literally counted McDonald hiring workers in that number. A lot of those things are.
Trump's numbers
and
are
Biden
bad.
hired
He's saying
people.
A lot of.
22 trillion.
I think this
What's
is the White
being
House numbers. I'm
reported is
telling you why they're
7.5.
bad still.
I'm giving
They're
you the
literally
White
they're
House number,
counting a
and I'm
lot of
giving
stuff
you
that
the
would
actual-
they're counting a lot of stuff that would have happened anyways, and they're counting a lot of things that probably aren't going to happen, like nebulous commitments from certain countries that are not legally binding.
Hold on. Doesn't every government? I'm going to go to Castle after this, but doesn't every government count things that were already going to happen in their economic reports, though? Like
I don't know what the fuck you mean by that.
Well, so okay, I guess I'm not gonna bash the Biden admin, right? Like you just said, okay, they're counting these things that were already gonna happen regardless of what Trump did, right? Some of these growth things, no matter what, right? So that's kind of like with Biden. Oh, I'm gonna count X, Y, Z happening regardless if it was gonna happen because of what he did or not. I mean, it's the same thing, right? And I'm not bashing either one. I'm just saying, wouldn't every government, every president do that, like for the report?
Not really. So this is there's a tiny grain of truth that I don't even want to grant you because I give you an inch, you're going to take a mile. But like, obviously, presidents always will be like, oh, this many jobs were created under my administration, then people like falsely assume causation to them. That is true, but that's not the
Biden
president
hired
or the
federal
executive branch.
employees.
Or like, well, the BLS makes that number. They're part of the executive branch, but that's not like the White House putting out a number of things that they attribute to the president. That's like Biden or other people taking credit for stuff that happened under them. You can say a lot of that would have happened anyways, but this is what Tyler is citing, I believe, is like literally, I don't know who made it, but it was like Council of Economic Advisors, like White House website where they attribute a bunch of this bullshit directly to Trump, and that's just obviously not true.
$22 trillion number.
That's
No,
good.
I know what you're. I know it.
Look,
Look, link me what you're citing then.
Those are Trump's trade deals that he's bringing in trillions of dollars in investment. Like with Saudi Arabia.
First of all,
he went over and had a meeting with them,
first of
they
all,
made a trade deal and they spent $500 billion right after that.
true. First of all, again, none of you guys don't actually care about investment. But second of all, just to be clear, you're citing the White House website still.
Hold on, before we go down that
just to
rabbit
be clear,
hole.
I'm on the White House website right now, and it's the total U.S. and foreign investment 9.6 trillion. And again, this literally includes McDonald's hiring workers. It includes a fuck ton of stuff that would happen anyway. A lot of these are nebulous commitments.
Yeah, when you
from
cut taxes
like the
and
EU.
regulations,
Tyler,
yes,
do you can see Tyler, do you can see the EU doesn't even have the ability to enforce the $600 billion that they supposedly committed?
Yeah, they could break that deal, and then we could punish them with tariffs again or some other kind of mechanism. The same way we're punishing China for breaking.
I'm just wait. Hold on. They're not breaking. They're not even like breaking the deal. You can see that they don't even have the EU does not have the legal authority to enforce that.
They'll find a way, just like they found a way to raise their drug prices.
Okay, but we can count that on Trump's White House website. That's a real number, which we should take super seriously. Yeah, that's great. That's great. By the way, I'm pretty sure total foreign investment.
They were allies.
Wait, hold on. I'm pulling a Fred right now. Wait, just to be clear, total FDI in the U.S. for quarter 3, 2025 was $218 billion. So you're not going to get this is absolutely, at least not so far, showing up in the foreign investment numbers. Quarter 2, 2025, it was $500 billion. So what are we?
Well, before you answer that, let's go to Castle. I know he's trying to get it. Go ahead, Castle.
Thanks, Gibbs. Yeah, so the thing with investment, even if you grant that to Trump and the administration, it's what is it going to do and how is it affecting the economy today? Because under Biden, he had the whole infrastructure week and project, and that money takes time. It takes literal years, even after he's president, to really turn into effect. And there are things that under the first Trump presidency, there were promises of manufacturing being done or companies overseas coming to build factories over, and that doesn't happen. Same thing happened with Biden. So you can't really count on that yet. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that Trump is getting investment. It's a great thing, and I definitely think we shouldn't be against that at all. But the thing is, we're not seeing anything today happening because these things.
Hold on, I'm
what's happening
confused.
today is that we have hold on, Gert, 1 sec. We have jobless claims and we have the jobless rate increasing, and we're seeing that companies are spending more. I sent a link to in the group chat that retail inflation, ever since the tariffs have gone into place, has risen since the decline, since the Biden administration. So we do know that companies are spending more. They have more capital expenditure that they're spending on things like data centers. And this thing also affects AI and how we're investing in AI. China is kicking our butt right now with AI investment. And it's because all the tariffs that we impose on companies, they have to spend more for chips. They have to spend more for raw natural resources and rare earth elements. So these things definitely have an effect on our tech
China has an
companies.
export.
Wait. I'm sorry, Caswell. You're entirely wrong. Most of the AI shit is exempt. That's why AI is booming, because they got exemptions from the fucking tariffs.
Yeah, no,
Whereas
yeah.
export
Hold
tax
on,
in China.
guys.
NVIDIA, first of all, NVIDIA
hold on.
agreed to do an unconstitutional export tax in exchange for being able to sell to China.
Unconstitutional.
Wait,
I think that's
I bet no one has standing to sue, but I bet if someone did have standing to sue, it probably would be unconstitutional, because it's basically an export tax, which is not legal under the Constitution.
Hold on, not fine. And if I'm wrong, I'll totally take it if I'm wrong. But outside of NVIDIA, are you saying that all the chip companies are non-exempt or exempt?
It's not it's not all of it, but like Apple, for example, has a deal where like they and Apple doesn't do that much AI stuff, but it like they don't pay tariffs on a lot of their imports. I forget the exact restrictions, but it's quite a bit of it.
That's totally
Also,
fair point.
I mean, just to be clear, China doesn't actually make the AI chips. They do a lot of work with the AI software and some of the other technologies, but Taiwan was making most of the chips. And we actually don't. I don't even know if we have a tariff against Taiwan right now, but if we do, it's probably low. And beyond that, one of the very first things Trump did, like his first 90 days in office, was make a deal to move the chip plant that had been moved from California to Taiwan back to California. I don't know if that's actually happened yet, but it is on the agenda.
And don't forget, Israel also provides a significant portion of chips to us as well.
Okay, apparently Israel also. But you said something really interesting, and actually we've kind of gone around this. So first of all, when we talk about it seems disingenuous when we talk about that we don't have the job growth that we want, but at the same time, you both have mentioned H-1Bs and the lack of H-1Bs, the number of H-1Bs being restricted as being a problem. And I'm very fascinated by that because, first of all, I have no problem with H-1Bs as they're coming over as they're needed. I see I have two basic problems with H-1Bs. First of all, it means that we, for whatever reason, are not educating our citizens enough to take those jobs, which means we need to do better as a country, as a society, to get people through school properly and train them to be doctors, computer programmers, whatever. I really don't feel like we need to prop up India's education system and have them come over here and do it.
Well, hold
on. Not done yet. And the second thing is that if we are taking doctors and specialists and things like that away from India, Pakistan, wherever, now we're robbing those people of a needed resource because obviously they still have sick people there. They still need surgeons. They need all of that. And yet we're bringing them over here. And I think so we basically fuck two countries at once, ours and theirs, by having these H-1Bs being so widely available. And I disagree with not the practice, but the number and the idea that we need to increase that number for some stupid ass reason. Otherwise, basically what you are all saying is that Americans are too fucking stupid to do the job.
Well,
and that's a serious problem. I really want to dig down into why you both mentioned H-1B and the lack of H-1B as being a problem.
Well, before you go on, I'm going to take first crack at this because okay, listen. Why don't you, instead of looking at it like this, look at it like manifest destiny. We're manifest destinying that resource out of their country. So India, they got all these doctors. Yeah, Well, sure. Well, hey, maybe, I don't know. Listen, but then what I'm saying is, if we're looking at India, the argument would be we're taking their cream of the crop. Fuck them bitches. We're conquering their education people while we improve ours by bringing them over here and hopefully putting them into citizenship programs and they permanently become Americans. That'd be the argument. And the other argument I would make is manufacturing. I deal with on the manufacturing side. I have to deal with H-1B visas, and we'll get them in. And then we'll push them through the green card process, citizenship process, right?
Sure.
And then I'll get them here and whatever. And I would get Americans to do that, but they don't want to do this shit, right? So okay, well, who am I going to go to? And I think part of it is the manufacturing aspect, right? I want manufacturing to come back to America. I think that's important. So I'm a little bit torn. I think that there needs to be some kind of redoing of all the immigration system. I think we're all probably in agreement on that. However, I feel like this is maybe a target that's getting included that is not necessarily something that maybe shouldn't be our focus. But I know Non-Fauna had a different objection, I'm sure. Go ahead. You were going saying something when I cut you off there.
Yeah, number one, I mean, at least Gibbs recognizes it, but I love how the America first, it just evaporates out of your body. Now you have this really big concern for India. It doesn't matter that we're tariffing them, but taking their doctors is just so evil because it's going to hurt India a ton.
I'm just saying that we do two wrong things at the same time.
The problem is that H1B.
Well, I mean, if you think it's wrong, presumably you think it's gonna. That's a concern. Then you're concerned because it's wrong. No. But second of all, I think
can say something's wrong without being concerned about it. I wouldn't ascribe that to me.
Okay. I mean,
H1B. Hold up.
Wait. Let me. There's not I've never seen convincing evidence that H1B visas are complements rather than substitutes rather than complements to native-born workers. There's a lot of clustering effects that go on. I know all you fucking conservatives hate California so much. You hate gay San Francisco. All right. The reason a lot of tech companies still found themselves make a startup in San Francisco is because that's where all the talent is. Having more talent in an area attracts more investors to that area. So you should care about the clustering effects there that happen. And the H-1B system is a lottery, so we have decent causal evidence that firms that hire more H-1B workers actually see more total employment and they see higher growth a lot of times. And secondly, you should care about spillover effects. Obviously, these are tech workers, just the illustrative example. There's some hard data on this, but imagine an Indian H-1B worker who takes an American's job, at fucking Adobe. Let's say I grant that the price of labor for U.S. tech workers, native-born tech workers, fell. In that case, Adobe's probably going to be able to invest more, and they're going to create more software, and that software goes on to help a lot more consumers and also a lot more businesses. A lot of businesses use Adobe software, right? It makes them more productive, and the spillover effects from that can massively outweigh any of the cost of native-born workers.
Yeah, go work at a fucking restaurant. We're going to give your jobs to these people and offshore them for half the fucking wages in America.
Bro, that's exactly what I said. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to respond.
H-1B has very clearly led to a lot of technology workers in America not having jobs while we have H-1B workers. And this is the most offensive part of it. The H-1B sponsors and stuff know this. They will run job ads in unknown publications to intentionally create a paper trail that they pretended that they were looking for somebody. Meanwhile, I know tons of devs right here in Las Vegas. You guys in Silicon Valley think you're so sharp, but guess what? We got some bare knuckle engineers here. And this is despite the fact that all of these opportunities have been going towards this program that's being abused. So it's not all of the opportunities, but it's enough to shift the market. And it means that local talent doesn't get developed. It means we're not investing in our own future, and you're out of your fucking mind to say any different.
But Streamer,
I can cite some papers to you if you want. I don't know what to tell you.
Hold on,
2017, okay? We have evidence. We have good causal evidence. We have good causal evidence on this because it's a lottery system. And then you're again completely ignoring the spillover effects. I agree. I agree. There's some. I think there are. Oh my god. I think there is some abuse in the system. There's some abuse in any system. I think most of that would be solved by making the system less administratively complex and easier. But if you hate the abuse going on, you should fight. You should hate Trump because he's so incompetent. He's so incompetent that one of the reforms that he's doing to H-1Bs is using wage levels to award visas instead of the lottery system. But he didn't understand that wage levels or whoever came up with the policy, wage levels were constructed to measure relative seniority within a position and not the actual wage of someone working a job. So now more visas are going to go to people abusing the system to get like a H-1B visa acupuncturist than H-1B tech workers that just graduated college in the U.S. that we want here.
I would to hold on to Nonfon's point though. I think another thing that maybe from the Republican side we should factor in, right? Just for funsies here, is Trump has talked a lot about bringing manufacturing back to America, and like no offense to the tech bros, I guess I'll be the guy to say I hate the tech bros. Fuck you, bitches. Y'all. There's service industry. You're not building nothing. The tech bros, guess what? If we have EMP, yeah, I'm sorry. If EMPs go off tomorrow, I'm gonna go out to my ranch. I'm gonna eat my cow. You're gonna go to your job and you're gonna eat the chips. Yeah, I guess get fucked.
Tomorrow your cows are all fucking dead.
I'll be eating some radioactive meat. I'll be all right. I'll be all right for a while. I'll last longer than you will. But my point is that y'all are gonna have nothing. So this is kind of a point Trump made was we're gonna bring manufacturing back, right? And so if you agree with that, you know that some of these service industry jobs, and this is kind of what Ronfa and I've argued a few times, are going to shrink. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing because other industries are going to grow. Now, I know he disagrees, but Streamer, do you disagree with that too? What are your thoughts here?
Well, so from my perspective, what we're seeing is a shift of work. We're seeing now a single engineer cannot just do the work of 10 to 50 other engineers, but they can build workflows that are force multipliers for businesses. So there's a lot of people doing stupid, repetitive jobs that they hate, and they don't make a whole bunch of money. So now what we're seeing is a small business owner who's been struggling to try to have operational efficiency. Now at the low level, guys doing $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, a couple million a year, they're able to fight and gain the advantages that larger companies have and be able to create more opportunity in their local economy. So what we're seeing is for the folks that are leading into this, it's displacing entire industries, but what it's leaving in its wake is better paying opportunities. We used to have people to do accounting. They'd just be a room full of 100 accountants or whatever, sitting there with their 10 key, punching everything out. Do we think that losing those jobs was bad for America? Absolutely not. Now we use spreadsheets. Now we use databases. Now we have way better jobs. And so what we're seeing is a transition in the type of equipment that we're using. I'd love to see domestic chip manufacturing in the U.S. I'd like to see more manufacturing here. And what we're seeing, I think, more and more is this merge of technology where traditional industries such as even yours are able to see really nice improvements by applying technology and by having domestic talent that understands American problems. We see greater growth and improvement in productivity in small businesses, which are the backbone of all of our economic opportunity. See, small businesses drive almost all of the job growth in any meaningful way. So we have a handful of employers that end up causing a lot of great jobs, and that's fine. But then the little guy has to go through and slug it out and bar fight with the world, have a ranch, have an accounting practice, have a manufacturing, put people to work, and actually take care of them. So anything that gets in the way of progress is
let me kind of piggyback off of that stream.
Yeah, then we're gonna go to Tyler. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, and I know Tyler wanted me to ask this while he was gone. I apologize, but basically, we are at basically full employment in the U.S. I mean, you will never have 100% with zero unemployment, but we're as close as we get, right? And so the consolidation of some jobs opens up room for other jobs to be created. And so this is a natural thing. And if we disagree on that, that's fine. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but that's how that works. Now, what StreamRift is kind of saying is that while we may not bring back traditional manufacturing jobs of running a heavy press or being a machinist, a production machinist or something like that, it very well could be that the manufacturing jobs that do come back are things like the chip manufacturing facility that we're trying to bring back from Taiwan, move it out of Taiwan back to Silicon Valley, so that we can have more control over the chip manufacturing process as we once did. And I'm sure there's other high tech jobs. I mean, right now, you guys, would you guys at least admit that right now we're selling a lot of shit to the world. We're selling F-35s as faster than we can build them. We'll sell them to fucking anybody. And those are, we're selling Patriot missile systems, Apache helicopters, light helicopters, which they go by various names, Kiowas, things like that, troop carriers. And most of this is out-of-date inventory that we need to clear space. But you know what? Those still have to get loaded on the trucks. Truck drivers still get paid to move them. It creates American jobs not only after they've been built, but while they're being built. And of course, we have to replace that inventory, also leading to more manufacturing. Can we agree on that? So that even though it seems like Trump may not be causing a factory to reopen or something like that, but by putting these things out there, putting these deals together, and selling, making these huge deals with other countries, that he is in fact bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. effectively?
I don't see evidence for that, and we were selling a ton of military equipment beforehand.
Literally, he was just criticized for a $6 billion deal to somebody, some country.
Well, he also made a deal with India about the oil.
And I know he's selling F-35s to India. He's selling them. He's selling submarines to Australia. He's selling Patriot missile systems to Israel. He's selling various military vehicles to Israel. He's selling. I
don't know. So a lot of it, like in general, a lot of the trade deals, I think, are kind of not like real commitments, and they're Trump heavily exaggerates them. If I'm being charitable there, we might be selling more military equipment now, and that could plausibly have some positive impact on manufacturing. Now, it could also be crowding out other manufacturing jobs, right? Like if you just imagine, you said it yourself, good, we're near full employment, right? If you imagine we were literally at 100% employment, then if the government were to make an F-35 and employ people to do so, it would necessarily be drawing people away from the private sector. So something like that could be happening.
Well,
I mean, it's interesting. I
think it's interesting, by the way, that you guys seem to understand creative destruction in this context, but don't understand creative destruction when it comes to trade. But regardless,
it's interesting you say that because,
by the way, I just want to be clear. Like, manufacturing job growth is down. It's continued on its downward trend. It's same thing with blue collar jobs in general.
Tyler, go ahead.
Okay, so first off,
your volume's low, Tyler.
Oh, fucking AY. I just fucking fixed it.
You're fine. Go ahead.
You're just too far away, yeah.
All right, so a lot has been said since the last time I spoke, so I got to get to a few things. The issues we're seeing right now with jobs, as Grid pointed out, we are still currently in the area of full employment. We've seen like a 0.8% decrease with increase in labor force participation. The reason why is because we're seeing massive cuts in jobs, in federal jobs. That's the largest amount of jobs lost since Trump took office. And second most is because we're deporting illegal immigrants, forcing businesses to actually pay their workers living wages and real wages. They're not allowed to break the law and pay people second-class citizens pennies on the dollar anymore. And that's causing them to actually increase the cost of their output. So, following the laws might suck, but it is what it is. 95% of H-1B visas come into the country, work for a limited amount of time, and leave. They don't stay, even though we offer them incentives to stay. We are getting cheaper and cheaper in terms of what we're paying people. We see that jobs in blue-collar jobs in tech sector pay almost double what service industry jobs pay. Blue-collar jobs in manufacturing pay about 60% more than what people pay. And we've lost 3 million factory jobs, 2 million tech jobs because we're offshoring overseas.
Totally false. You have no evidence for that.
Your study says 2.4, buddy.
Nope.
I've seen more.
Wait, no.
First of all,
no, Tyler, I know. Do you think I know more about the fucking study than you do? First of all, I know what study you're citing. You're citing Arthur Dorn Hansen, okay? Because I told you about the study. Arthur Dorn Hansen, first of all, says 1.5 million jobs. Second of all, Arthur Dorn Hansen does not have a general equilibrium model. You cannot get aggregate effects if there's no.
Get some order here. Everybody, shh. All right, Tyler, you can go first. Then non-fun, you can reject his claims. All right, go ahead. Now you go.
Thank you. I'm going to continue. Even the lowest studies that non-fun cites say 2.4 million jobs in the manufacturing sector. There's also other studies that show 2 million tech jobs have been offshored as well because of this. We're offshoring call centers. We're offshoring tech support to other countries. Most companies do it. So they come here, they use our tax dollars, they use our services, they take American spots in school, and what they do is they take that money and time and investment into them, and they go back to India. We're paying, and we're allowing Americans to lose opportunities to make India great again. The blue-collar jobs that are coming in right now, we need to train people in tech, IT, and programming, because we're seeing a massive spike right now in terms of tech jobs, especially data centers are begging for people, paying $35 an hour because they can't. And what Stream was saying earlier, I am a programmer. I see this. They're offering $50,000 to go work at a coding temp service where they take 10% of your wage and force you to live in a single bedroom apartment in an extremely expensive city for 5 fucking years. They do that to you in order to work for them. And when you say no, then they hire a fucking person here, an H-1B visa that makes 40 to 50% less the median wage. There's second-class citizens being brought in. We're saying no more. And if it costs so fucking much to pay U.S. workers to do the jobs that we want U.S. workers to do, let's talk about cutting climate policy, talk about cutting worker protections, talk about cutting all the other things that drive our wages up, except for just give up, roll over, and everyone goes works as a fucking line cook at McDonald's.
I like
No,
McDonald's.
go ahead.
Okay, I
Knothon.
don't know why Tyler thinks he knows more about the study I told him about than he does. So you're citing, I believe what you're citing is Arthur Dorn Hansen. Just to be clear, number one, the estimate from that is not 2.2 million. The estimate that they, I think, say in the abstract or say in the headline number is, I believe, 1.5 million. Second of all, that's using the least robust specification in their own study. It's using the data from the columns with the least amount of controls, the least to artificially get the highest effect. I think it's clear that they were trying to do that. Second of all, there is no general equilibrium model they provide. Just to be clear, you cannot get an aggregate effect. I know econometrics is hard. You cannot get an aggregate effect without a general equilibrium model. Arthur Dorn Hansen does not provide a general equilibrium model. All they do is times the partial R2, which is they use their DID model to get a partial I2, and they just times that by the change in import penetration for the whole country. That is not robust. That is not how that is meaningless. That's meaningless. So and it has a dirty instrument as well. Their instrumental variable, by the way, violates the exclusion restriction because the instrument for Chinese imports is heavily correlated with imports from low to middle income countries. So it's not it has a dirty instrument. They use the least robust specification to get that number, and the methodology for getting that number is just total bullshit anyway. They don't have a general equilibrium model. If you look at studies that do try to make a general equilibrium model, a lot of them find that it actually led to net job increases. Certainly not just with the U.S., but historically.
More restaurant jobs. I'm looking at 17.2 million jobs since 1996 in the manufacturing center have gone away. They're only attributing, this study attributes 4.5 million of those to the jobs.
No, I know what you're citing again. You're citing Robert E. Scott. Robert E. Scott is fucking bullshit too. That's not even a pay.
Oh, yeah,
first of all, to be clear, I know everything in your brain and more. Okay, first of all, Robert E. Scott, I know what the fuck you're citing. Number one, that's not a study. That's not published. That's just some bullshit for the EPI. I bet you're reading it off the EPI website right fucking now. Second of all he does is assume that a trade deficit displaces U.S. production 1-to-1, which is blatantly not true. You can see that is.
CSIS says 3.5 million. Well, there's a different one. Reshoring innovation says 3 to 5 million. EPI
reshoring innovation. I'm sure they say that.
Oh, everyone that proves you're wrong is stupid and bad, and you can't trust anyone. We have to listen to you.
I got you, Castle. We're gonna give you a second here, right? Look, actually, I want to move. We're in the weeds again. We're arguing about studies specifically, and which study have you read? And
wait, Tyler. Just to be clear, Tyler, do you concede that Robert E. Scott's work is bullshit?
No.
You know who's bullshit? Work is not
Tyler,
bullshit.
Wait, real quick,
Francis Scott Key.
Tyler, do you concede that I know more than you about Arthur Dorn Hansen?
I don't think you know more than me about much, buddy. But
about Arthur Dorn Hansen, the study that you're saying.
All saying 3 to 5 million, and you're like, all of them are stupid and bullshit.
You're citing the one study that you're citing is Arthur Dorn Hansen. The other stuff is not studies. It's like think pieces.
There's no
enough about Rogel Dorn and fucking the Imperial Fist or whatever we're talking about. But let's talk about another little key factor of the economy here. I've heard from many people here about the trade deficit for probably about 2 years now. And I'm just going to read something here, and then we'll go to Castle. We'll get our first response since he was waiting. The U.S. trade deficit has plunged to its lowest level since 2009 in October 2025, with Yahoo Finance reporting a 39% decline from September to 29.4 billion, effectively halving the previous deficit. This dramatic reduction, which fell from over 136 billion in March 2025, was driven by a 3.2% decrease in imports, particularly pharmaceuticals and gold, and 2.6% increase in exports. So it looks like we've cut the trade deficit in half. That is something I've heard argued about many times. What are our thoughts at this, Castle? Go ahead and start us off, and you can respond to what the other litany of things that were said before that as well.
Yeah, I mean, before I get to this real quick, and I promise, Gibbs, I'll get back to it, but I think the guy below Stream Ripped, I think his name is, he was posting some meme in the corner about like, oh, researchers say this, blah, blah, blah. And I totally agree with that in this case, because that's what this whole debate should really be about. It's not about this study or that study, and I agree that those matter and with context, but like the American people don't think that the economy is doing well. Why? That should be the main point. It's not about what this study says or whatever this economist says, because Americans aren't waking up to read a research paper. So just to get that out of the way, I think that matters a lot more to what Americans are thinking more than whatever economists are saying or whatever the government is saying. But to your point about the trade deficit, Gibbs, is that Americans are buying less stuff, and there's higher interest rates that have strengthened the dollar. Then demand has softened. So I think there are a few things that play with the deficit. I think that Trump's obsession with it isn't really helping anybody in this case. I feel like he's used that to levy tariffs on other nations and other countries, and then obviously has then come back and played that off as some type of negotiation tactic where, in some instances you could say it's worked, and then in others, I don't know if we even really have any concrete trade deals written on the table. So I don't really think the trade deficit is something that also, again, is a metric that Americans are waking up to and seeing like, oh, going out to Walmart costs $5 more than it did last month, but we're now closer in the trade deficit. I think it's something that doesn't matter.
Would you agree nearly 100% employment is a reasonable sign then, if we're not going to talk trade deficits and whatnot?
Yeah, but I think that you got to look at the trajectory. Is the unemployment rate going up or down?
It's going up. It's been going up. I think it decreased like the last 2 months or something, but other than that, it's been going up. It's been trending slightly upwards.
I mean, I think that it's good to have full employment. I'm not saying it's not, but I think that we're seeing a trajectory, and based on the last jobs report, that we're starting to lose more jobs than gain them. So I think that's a bad. We
created 584,000 new jobs.
That's
well,
like,
if you have
first of all, since
if you have 100% employment, the only direction you can go is what? Down, right?
Well, that's not
in 2025, and it is a slowdown. We created less jobs.
I don't think,
but it was 584. 500 something thousand. I think it's 84. I could go look it up again.
I don't believe net job growth of 584,000 in 2025. Maybe
I think that would have been a record if it was like a 1 month thing, right?
While y'all are looking into this. While y'all looking into this, let's go to Steve Riff. He's been quiet for a moment. Steve Riff, what are your thoughts so far?
I mean, I think it's really interesting when we sit and we discuss studies. Like we've touched on this. So, Non-Fun, I got to ask you. So we're sitting at this time where there's never been this much advancement in technology ever, and a lot of folks have been looking for technology to make their jobs better, start making more money, and we're right on the edge of all of this excitement here. And you're sitting here discounting the stability of the market that Trump's bringing with actually giving some guidelines for companies. You're pushing back on the idea that we need to let American talent develop. You're pushing back on the idea that, for example, like just going back to sort of the beginning, like cheap gas. Like Americans like cheap gas because they like going places, like they like visiting their family, like going on trips, like they like fucking just going on their boat. Like if we're just talking about general country morale, $2 gas, we'd be fucking ready to throw down for another revolution. So like there's some quality of life things that happen that people are like, oh, you also, and my goodness, this is probably the most offensive thing you've nodded to, and please correct me if I'm wrong on your position, but I think you made some notion, that idea that not letting hedge funds buy single family homes was some bad thing. Your generation is sitting here crying about you can't afford a house. This is the single policy decision that could be made that would have the highest impact on that, and you're just looking down on that.
Absolutely false. What's the evidence for that?
Affordable housing?
Mass deportations too.
True.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What's the evidence for that?
Well, there's some
art.
There is some reports coming out of California that housing costs are going down now that they have such a dramatic decrease in pop due to that. But I don't know. I find
Not
that
the mass
I'll be
deportation
all
to
that. Hold on,
the institutional buyers.
just to caveat that, I find it somewhat suspicious that that's going to cause housing costs to go down in California whenever it's already so high and these people are working as a subclass. How are they causing prices to go? I got questions. I would need
I'll
more
walk you through
evidence.
that. It's all right. So we've got
Sure.
expensive housing, mid housing, cheap housing. When you start
There's no
dropping
cheap
that,
housing, so yeah, it goes up. I understand,
yeah, it
but
collapses the whole market.
I got some doubts, but like maybe I'm wrong. You know,
It's
I
pulled up like 10%. Like my wife and I, we like looking at the beaches of California. It'd be nice to have a place to go hang out there. And we're looking at it. Prices
yeah,
went down.
the
quite a
red
bit.
wave, the red wave is
Like
coming
it
to
really
Cali.
got. Oh, we'll just visit. We lived there for 3 years and never again. Great
Mm.
beaches.
I think the
just
migration,
not a
you
place
might
to
have a
stay.
point on migration,
Oh
Tyler
my
Gibbs, but I
God.
think for the institutional buyers, I don't think that's a real thing. Like they own like 1% of the
kidding me?
entire housing
Not in
stock.
Nevada. Nevada,
What was
they
that?
own like
Okay,
a
wait,
third of the
wait,
houses in Vegas. It's a
it's
massive
like
impact. And what they do is every time they buy a house, they can increase the amount of rent. So they buy another 5% of the market. The rents of everything in the whole market goes up. So they get extra rents on everything else that they bought up. So this is how they've just been beating the shit like Grid was talking about. The middle class, there is no middle class.
wait,
There's a permanent renter class that can never
can they
get ahead.
just why can't they just bid the price of housing up? What do you mean?
What are you
Like
talking
what?
about?
They
Well,
still
I
have to
can-
compete.
I
They have
can
to
answer
compete.
that.
They have to compete. They have to compete
defer to
against
Grid.
all the existing housing stock. And you would imagine, absent barriers to
sorry, you
building
don't
more
understand
housing,
Grid.
if they
Yeah,
did,
I mean,
if they did increase housing prices a ton, other investors would
wanna
enter
answer? No,
to build
not
new
wrong. Do
homes
you
to
wanna
drive the
answer?
price
So
back
you ask
down.
the
Let him go ahead. Let him finish, and then yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yes, I mean I can answer why a big chunk of why the real estate market is the way it is, and we can look at a couple of different markets. Most markets, what happens is you have American Homes for Rent, Liberty, Progress, and I forget what the fourth one is, but they're all basically they all receive funding from the same corporate entities. They own over 1,000 houses now. They have to divest themselves of it. That means they're going to have to sell them. There's some concern. My wife and I were talking about the other night that these companies are going to just simply form a new company and basically sell to themselves on paper, which would be interesting to see happen. But what happens is they move into a neighborhood, and the average price in that let's just pretend that the average price for the home in that neighborhood is $250,000, and they buy that house, and then they decide that they put some money into it and they get it appraised and it's worth $400,000. So now all of the houses in the
That's an improvement. Yes, if you make
you
something
want
more desirable, its price goes up.
Can you control yourself for just a little bit? I mean,
No,
I know it's hard.
I'm gonna go insane.
So literally, what they'll do is in that neighborhood, they will buy every house in the neighborhood, and they'll go to the realtors and say, "Hey, if you bring me the deal first, and I'll buy it cash," and then they buy cash, they close quick, and a lot of times, sellers that need to get out, and they get what they want out of it. I personally, we have I have an investment fund deals with real estate, and what we do is we buy houses. We don't buy whole neighborhoods like Progress or anything, but we buy houses, and we do the same thing. We go to I have realtors that are willing to make very low commission and willing to kind of negotiate harshly with sellers to get us a good price, and we bought 20 houses this year, and that's it's a drop in the bucket compared to some of these companies.
You are BlackRock.
True.
Mini BlackRock.
Okay, first of all,
but that's how it happens. And now I
control
control what those houses are worth. I control what those houses are worth. When I decide to sell it, what do you mean how?
You're in competition against all the other existing housing stock.
So if
he's got a lock on. Yeah, he's got a lock on he's basically saying he can do the Rockefeller system because he can undercut the people that are still there, or he can own the other people because he controls the market in the region. So if you want to buy a house in this neighborhood,
what's the evidence for that? Wait, cite me one metropolitan area. Cite me one metropolitan. So we have a measure of we have multiple measures of market concentration. One is the HHI index. Cite me one metropolitan area where the HHI index.
I'll tell you right now, Columbus, Ohio, we own.
That's not true because I know the HHI index is not above any market concentration threshold level in any metropolitan area.
if you can't I bought a house 8 months ago for $215,000. I put basically zero money in it, right? And I have had someone in there paying rent the whole time. If I were to sell it today, I would sell it for $315,000 to $320,000. And that is slightly above the going rate, but I know I can get it because I don't have to sell it, and I just know that nobody else is going to be able to compete with me on that. And the people who are going to compete with me are the same people like me, who are going to do the same thing. What was it? Open Door. Open Door had the same policy. They would go in and they buy a house, just give you whatever you asked for it. So if you said that it was worth $300,000, they give you $300,000 for it, and then they would immediately mark it up by $100,000 or more, and that was their but and it was a very bad tactic. They lost their ass, but that's because they didn't understand the same things that American Homes for Rent and all of these other companies understand. And once they own all of a neighborhood, they set the value.
Not true. They have to compete against the existing housing stock everywhere else.
Or 90%.
So that's number one. Number two, if they make improvements to the house, obviously the price of a newly improved asset is going to go up. Number three, if they are driving up the value of these homes or whatever, you would expect that's one of the first things you said. These companies buy a home and they improve it, they redecorate it or whatever, and I crashed out a little. Okay, remember?
I don't think I
also, there's no metropolitan area. There's no you can't find evidence of market concentration beyond what the FCC considers a reasonable threshold for being worried anywhere. That's just not we have indexes of this stuff. It's just simply not the case.
Wait,
also,
hold on.
Oh my God. Also, if they do drive up can I finish
they
with
literally
the
just passed
two more things, buddy. If they drive up the price of them and they're making more profit, you would expect other people to enter the market. I think a big reason why you don't see that in some cases is because we made it needlessly hard with regulatory barriers on the local level with housing supply and with restrictions on lending that we instituted after 2008 for new people to enter the market and to buy homes. Also, we see that there's evidence that large landlords essentially can have lower marginal costs and are actually more efficient at building and managing homes, and for that reason, they might actually have some positive effect on reducing housing prices, especially if they do.
Yes, because we hate making money. Yeah, because we hate making money. So,
great, you're a business owner. You recognize that you can make more money by cutting prices sometimes. If more people buy your good, it depends on the elasticity.
But I'm not.
What?
You just don't understand economics. The whole point of putting a bucket of money into housing to control the price is so that you can fuck the market, which is how this works.
No, what?
It's math.
Right. So
the
house in the area ought to cost $250,000, but I own.
I'm not saying that.
30% of it, right? I own an entire block of houses, right? I own 10 out of the 12 houses on a block. I now control what those houses are going to pay, what you're going to pay to buy one of those houses.
You don't own the
neighborhood. You're going to pay me $400,000 for the house. And that's what's happened in almost every market across the United States.
Yeah.
That's why they just put in regulation so that companies could own more than 1,000 houses.
Yeah, I don't
even think that's got into effect.
27 to 34% of houses.
That's a real thing.
Multiple quarters.
I know what you're citing again. You're citing the stupid Redfin shit. No, that's as stupid as game of telephone.
Yeah, everything's stupid.
That's Redfin shit.
I believe what he's citing.
You're an idiot. I literally just got an email the other day saying that because we own 20 houses, but we have multiple funds. If we own 1,000 houses, we're going to have to divest ourselves of that.
This is the 2025 Q3 Investor Pulse report by Batch Data. Showed 27 to 34% of new homes sold in 2025 went to investors and not family. So you're talking about
I believe what that number
We're talking
actually
about what's
is.
happening right now.
True. I believe what that actually is, first of all, even in that, again, 99% of the housing stock in any given year is existing housing stock. But regardless, I believe what you're citing, sorry, I don't have notes on every single stupid meme. I can't memorize all of it. I can memorize, I know exactly what you're reading when you look up the numbers for manufacturing stuff because I've read all that bullshit. So I can't memorize every single thing, but I believe what you're citing is there was a thing that said I think it was Redfin initially came out and said the whatever number, like 27% of all flipped homes were sold to large or small investors, and that got telephoned all the way to what you said.
This came
But I
from
don't.
CNBC, my citation.
Yeah, Tyler. So,
CNBC,
and I
great.
think that this might help. So, let me, a layman, try to dissect this. But Grid was saying, and we'll get back to Grid's example. But Grid, you were saying you own, like, let's say 20 or 30% of homes in a certain area, right?
I don't need to own 20 or 30%. If I own a neighborhood, whatever the houses in that neighborhood should sell for, and because everybody else is going to also raise their price up to my price. Right. The minute I do that,
but then also,
why? Wait, what? Wait.
Not fine. Hold on. My point is that if you own a certain amount of housing, or let's say you own a neighborhood, you raise the prices, and people buy. They have to buy at that price for other people to raise the price of their house if they want to sell it, right? Like if you're not selling a house for $500,000, then you're going to have to sell it for $450,000 or $400,000 until you feel like you have a buyer or a market there. So my point is that you can own as much as you want in a certain neighborhood, but what Non-Fun is saying is that nobody, not even institutional investors, owns enough where they can control an entire town or entire city or whatever it is, because they are not dictating the price of the market. The market is still
but
owned by the existing
but hold on, y'all are making this way more complicated than need be. I
agree.
I'll play the devil's advocate because I can use my neighborhood as an easy example. I think the conundrum y'all have here. I mean, I own my house here in my neighborhood, and it's a new neighborhood that didn't exist 4 years ago. Right, this is the third year. My property value has gone up about $40,000 in the last year. This neighborhood specifically, right? Now I own my house. I think 2 other people own houses and another company owns 1 house. Now, the other 14 houses in the small neighborhood are owned by a company called First Key, or they're the property management company, and a trust owns all these houses. Now, my money, what I pay on this shit, that doesn't change. However, my taxes have gone up quite a bit, right? And if I wanted to sell, it's going to match the market value of all the houses that they're managing and they own, right? My market value has changed because of this. So whenever they sell or rent, they're matching that price to other comparable neighborhoods in the area, which they have other trusts that are related to them that own major portions of these neighborhoods around them. So when they set a price for, say, rent, let's say it's $1,300, and all the houses in that neighborhood are people are paying $1,300, that is reflected across the board in the whole region of, like, say, San Antonio, where I live, because other houses that are the comparable price and the comparable area are going to be set that because a portion of them, let's say like 5 to 10%, are all suddenly at this price. Why would you pay more or less when it's all this? So it's kind of, you dictate the market if you have enough market pools. Kind of what it sounds like y'all are arguing.
Right.
Is that
So what happens?
That's
what happens is someone like, and look, I'm not really, I don't care to be big enough to meaningfully sway a market, but I've watched it happen with specifically Progress, Liberty, and American Homes for Rent. Progress especially. Progress is evil, but the reality is they go in, and once they get into a neighborhood, just every home that comes up for sale, they'll buy it. They'll get preferential treatment because the realtors like them. They know they pay cash, and there's always deals to be made. And
wait, hold on. I just want to be clear. You recognize that it's literally
I don't
them having
understand
lower
why
marginal
I don't
cost,
understand
right?
why you don't understand how
Because
this works.
because it, like I don't know why if my brain just works in
Everybody do the
a way that
destiny.
yours doesn't. What I hear when when you say that, true, it's just driving me crazy. To be clear, what you just told
go
me,
ahead.
like
Get it out.
they have lower marginal cost. You reckon that makes the supply curve shift, right? Like that makes the supply curve or like more elastic, I should say, flatter.
No,
which lowers prices.
because people like money. No, because people like money. And if I buy a house for $350, hold on, just stop for a minute.
I know it's profit
down.
maximizing for them. Oh my God. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I buy a bunch of houses I decide what they're worth, more or less. Okay. And when I
Mhm.
sell my house for $400,000, even though by all rights it ought to be
I don't know what
250,000.
you're talking about, right? I just want to be, so you said that they get preferential treatment. Another thing they get, by the way, is that they get like better deals on insurance, for example,
Sure.
because they
We
own a
have
lot of
lower
homes and they
operating
benefit
costs.
from.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
The lower operating,
Yes.
we have a
Wait,
much
just to be
lower
clear,
operating cost.
do you think that like shifts marginal cost to the right, or like makes marginal cost lower?
You don't understand how they're pricing. That at its core, you just don't understand how
You
housing pricing
produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. If you reduce marginal cost, you produce more.
No, you're literally
And
you're just disagreeing with literally very well established demonstrable economics. If I buy a house on a
you're
street,
telling me people.
let's say
Wait,
there's-
just to be
can I
clear.
actually
Wait,
finish?
just streamer,
No,
please,
okay, go ahead.
please tell it. Do you agree
you don't
that
listen, it's fine, go ahead.
it is profit maximizing for firms to produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue?
I don't think you understand real estate. I don't know why you're obfuscating.
Wait, can you just that's
If
just
I
a
have
general
10
thing?
houses,
Can
no,
you agree with that?
interrupted
Do you
me.
agree with
Whenever
that?
you're ready, or else we can go to someone else. It's fine. I don't need.
I just really want to know if you agree that firms produce where marginal cost equals marginal
Stop
revenue.
doing destiny bullshit. Right. So here's the thing: if I've got 100
Okay.
houses on a street and it's $3,000 a month for rent, then I buy up the whole street, and it goes up 3,100. It goes up 3,400. I can control
Yes,
all of the
I
market.
do that.
And so when it goes up to 3,700, I buy one more. I own even more near there. I can keep ratcheting this up.
Wait, so
And as
to
soon as
counter
someone
that,
else sells it, this is a supply and demand curve, and it's the most simple economic thing that
Right,
exists
right,
under the sun. You're arguing against gravity right now.
StreamRift is exactly
True.
right. It's supply and demand. But the thing is, you can't just raise and give. Grid can't do this either. You can't just say, I'm buying a whole neighborhood. I'm going to make every house $1 million. What happens is nobody buys the houses, so they move to a different neighborhood. So
Yeah, or
So
So they just hold it.
or
Yeah,
just a
but
piggyback. Yeah, or just piggyback off Castle. You do what I would do, and I would just undercut the shit out of them because I want to get rid of the
Yeah,
property.
right.
And then all of a sudden, yeah,
And
that's going to bring
that's
all their
actually-
prices down,
So
and
that
that'll
is the
fuck them. But, like,
smartest comment made so far. The smartest comment made so far is what
Well, of
I
course.
do. As a little guy who I only own 20 houses, and Progress has 300 in the city that I'm in. I look at their rents and I price mine $100 a month less than theirs, right? And when they go to sell a house for $400,000 and it's the same square footage and it's basically the same as my house, if they're selling for 400, I'll sell for 375. Yes,
Yeah.
I undercut them, right?
Right. So
But
that's what I was saying.
they will set that value. They just will, and you can. I mean, I don't understand how to explain it. But again, I think StreamRift is right. You're arguing against gravity. I don't understand how this is so hard to understand. If I own,
I don't-
if I own if there's a short supply of $250,000 houses, and I own even 20% of them, what I get to and I'm going to sell it, I'm going to determine that that's now a $300,000 house, regardless of if I'm going to make $100,000 on it or whatever. I mean, I mean, I'm obviously going to make money, but
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what
I
works.
think the thing when we talk about the corporate interest in here, it's kind of the same thing. They're still in the same market. So that's what my argument was, is whether or not they buy a whole neighborhood or not, they're still going to have to price it considerably relative to the neighborhood across the street or the town or whatever, because you can't overprice a house, otherwise nobody's going to buy it. So you can say that they're coming in buying these houses. They still have to be relative to whatever the market is in that area. And they can also lose money. Let's say that the economy goes to shit. They're not going to be able to sell a $400,000 house for $400K. They're going to have to lower the price to 300, whatever, and so on. So I think that's why we're still arguing the market here is still what's controlling it. That's why supply and demand, I think, makes a lot of sense. And what StreamRift was saying was that that's still the overarching theme here, is that even if you are a corporation, which again, they only own 1% of the houses here, they're competing with the 99% out there. Nationally, they do. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're protected from all of this, but for the rest of us, what happens is the inventory gets artificially consolidated, and then what ends up happening
where
is
is
they
it
can
happening? That's
actually
what I'm
set the
saying.
right. Okay, so right now in Las Vegas, a house used to be able to be, you could get a nice house, $250,000. It's like $500,000 now. And it's not that the inventory's changed. In fact, a lot of the inventory is the same. There's a lot of houses that are old. And what's ended up happening is when you allocate, for example, to quote unquote affordable housing and you put restrictions on everything, you ratchet up the gross rents overall. So when 20% of the money that's in investment or in real estate is consolidated on 20% of the portfolio, they have an upward trajectory on it. The other thing is they're buying the single families, and this is what should be terrifying to anybody like non-fawn or the kids these days, is this is the mechanic that's keeping you as permanent renters. This is why Daddy Trump's telling you guys about 50-year mortgages, because you kids can't wrap your head around the fact that when you let BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street buy up all these houses and set rent rates, they're going to price it just about.
No, let me get some jalapeno poppers, kid.
Wait, hold on. I just want to. Why StreamRift? Why is the supply curve upward sloping? Why does it slope upwards?
What are you talking about?
Why does the supply curve on the supply and demand graph slope upwards?
So get to your point.
It's because marginal costs are increasing. Typically, that's the
You
assumption.
assume that real estate. Okay, okay. I'm going to address this point because you can't get past it. In manufacturing, yes, we're going to go for economies of scales. In software, we're going to go for economies of scales. In real estate, it's location, location, location. It's backed by real estate.
Do you recognize that institutional investors, large investors, benefit from economies of scale? Do you recognize that's true?
What are you? You're just wandering off, man.
I'm not. You
Directly engage with the fact that real estate does not play by the same rules of operational efficiency. For example, if Grid and I decided to go make widgets, and we were competing against other widget manufacturers, we would all have an incentive to make cheaper widgets, and we'd be trying to get deals with negotiators.
Just to be like, I'm sending stuff in.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So we go ahead and we do this. We're forced to do that because that's how the market. So we can either make a better widget or a cheaper widget. Both are nice. And so in real estate, because the value is tied to so many other things, like for example, the location of a house next to a good school is of significant value to the family. And so that puts a premium on it. So everybody, for example, if we did school choice and we made it where there could be schools throughout communities, it wouldn't consolidate the cost of housing. And so you're sitting here ignoring all of these extra things that make real estate actually unique and behave differently than, for example, manufacturing or even the service industry, and then going, yeah. So that's what's going on there. That's the difference. Real estate doesn't behave the same way as manufacturing.
I do want to
address
something really quickly.
Was that you said that there's existing housing that isn't being built upon in Las Vegas, right? I think you said that.
Well, no. So very specifically, the federal government owns a lot of the land here, and so there's an artificial restriction on land development, which is driving up the value of all of the existing land.
That's true.
Okay,
especially with all of the folks in California coming over here.
In the constraints of that, you have a government that isn't allowing for more development, and you're having more people trying to move into Las Vegas. I know Las Vegas and that area, especially the Southwest, especially during COVID, a ton of people were trying to move there. And so I think it just goes back to your point of supply and demand. Like, I don't know why you're blaming
Houston's not
the
seeing these
corporation.
problems, though. Houston's the fastest growing city, and they're not seeing massive spikes in housing costs like the rest of the country.
Because they have more supply than demand. That's the point.
They're building more. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying for streamers. It's like it's Las Vegas needs to build more. They obviously have some governmental regulations, but that's really what it comes down to. It's not because the government.
Just to be clear, the federal government owns like 80% of land in Nevada, and our governor is a pussy who won't just say, fuck you, stay the fuck out of here. If Minnesota can drive ice out, we can build some fucking houses for people.
They did it.
Yeah,
the federal government has a ton of restrictions on lending. After the subprime mortgage crisis, we put a ton of restrictions on lending. That restricts families' ability to buy a home, and that's part of the reason why institutional investors buy more homes nowadays, because they have the capital.
Partially true. But I want to address something that StreamRiff said. And first of all, BlackRock, Vanguard don't actually own any houses, but they bankroll companies like Progress that do. And they scare what ought to really scare a lot of people like non-fawn and people who want to own a house in the future. I'm picking on you because of your age, non-fawn, not your intellect or anything. What really should scare young people is the fact that all of these, there's like 5 companies that own a shit ton of real estate, and if they were to decide that they don't, this is an asset to them. They don't care. They're not emotionally attached to it. They don't live there. It's simply numbers on a screen. And if it were to reverse, if it were to be the case, and as it is in some places where the market actually reversed and the values of those homes started to drop below a threshold, they would divest themselves of it, causing a massive glut in the market and a cratering of real estate almost overnight. And that's it would be hugely detrimental to the country. So I think it's an interesting the way that they're attempting to control the real estate through this executive orders and things like that. I think that's really interesting. I don't know if it's going to be effective, but it's interesting. And I want to say one more thing about this. So when we talk about companies like like my investment fund or, BlackRock or, well, not BlackRock, I just said, but Progress or any of these other companies, one of the reasons they were able to charge so much money, especially from COVID forward, is because so many people fled California, New York, some of these other states, and they moved into areas like mine where typically you would not see a house that was maybe more than 300 grand unless it was like super nice. And overnight you had people coming in who honestly didn't give a fuck what the house cost. They just wanted a house, and there was a false sense of scarcity and my house, the house I paid $415,000 for the house that I live in. It's worth 800 grand today on paper. Because of the people from California and New York moving here and driving that cost up. No other reason. There's no other reason for my house to be worth this much. It's literally still a $400,000 house. It's nice, but it's not that nice.
Some places,
Yeah, it's almost like the
Ohio,
land appreciates. That's crazy.
Some places, like places in Ohio, see 20% of homes being owned by investors and not single families. So what we're seeing again is in recent purchases, we're seeing about a third of houses sold being bought by investors. Like, we're looking at the total of all houses in aggregate that have been bought in the last 50 years and say, well, it's only 3.8% that are owned by big companies, but at the end of the day, that's a fuck ton of the money.
First of all, you're still competing against all the other existing housing stock.
Most
Second of all,
people are selling their houses.
we have measures of market concentration. I don't think there's a single metropolitan area where the HHI index gives real estate or residential like construction above I forget what the threshold is. I think it's like 800 for like moderately concentrated even. Not that I don't even think concentration. I don't even think concentration alone is a good measure of market competition because a lot of increase like an increase in competition an increase in concentration can represent more productive firms getting more market share because they're more productive. That's what you want to happen in a free market system. And I don't know how you guys don't understand this. To be clear, firms produce where marginal cost equal no. True. I cited a paper. You can look at the group chat. I cited a paper. It is true that like institutional investors, large investors tend to have like lower marginal costs. They tend to have lower like operating costs. They get better, like we're talking about the better deals they get with realtors. They get better deals on insurance. That's a big one. And and that's the reason why they can have lower marginal costs. That's why some of them are even doing like build to rent things now. And that makes the supply curve
we're
more
going to do
elastic.
that. Yeah.
I want to bring up another problem that we haven't talked about in relation to this.
Hold on. Just one thing. By the way, if you just on the aging, if you disaggregate by marriage, then Gen Z is not particularly far behind in homeownership. There's like slightly above if you adjust for marriage. Now, now part of the issue is home prices probably have an effect on marriage. But it's difficult to say how high that effect is. But if you just aggregate by merits, then Gen Z is doing fine with home ownership. It's just that we get married less often.
I do want to point out an unexpected casualty of this policy with the, we're trying to have major corporations not buy up all the single homes, because this has affected me a little bit. Is I own some homes in like areas like Dallas, Fort Worth area, and they're not really homes. What they are is they're shells, right? We build an oil well on there, and then you build a shell around it. And now they're calling these homes. The government is, and so they're trying to restrict. Yes, so they're trying to restrict these in these neighborhoods. So the oil companies are now going, "Oh, we're gonna have to come up with some bullshit and open up different things to get around this law." Because if you want to put 6 wells in a neighborhood, that's 6 houses, and if it's all owned by the same company, you can't let them look
like oil wells.
Right, yeah. So you have to build some of these are nice neighborhoods in the middle, like downtown, like Dallas, Fort Worth. Like some of these are good places, like like the ritzy spots. So this might be a $1.2 million home in that right next to SMU, and oh shit, it's got an oil well in there. And it's it's really there's nothing on the inside, and so this is a real problem for some of these companies because they're going, oh shit, now we're getting this classified as home in a residential area, but it's also not. And I think that's something. This is kind of the same thing when they start dicking around with ag. There's always, when they dick around with something and the government dicks around the economy, there's always unintended side effects they're not thinking about. I think that's something to consider, but I'm sure that's a very small problem compared to everybody not being able to buy a house. But I thought it was worth mentioning as a side thing here. We'll go to Castle here. You look like you were ready to say something here for a moment. You were ripped and ready to
Yeah,
go.
I think one of the things Tyler mentioned, I'm not sure if I'm quoting this right, but you're saying that there were more people selling their homes and buying them. I don't know if that was you or Grid or somebody, but that is true. I think that the recent data is showing that there are more sellers than buyers. And in CPI, we're starting to see that shelter is one of the things that is slowly coming down. So that's hopeful news for people looking to buy a home. But the biggest thing is going to be interest rates. And I think that when it comes back down to what the interest rates and what the Fed is doing, that's going to be of big importance. And I think something relative to this conversation is who Trump is looking to nominate for the Fed, if he's going to lower interest rates or not, whether that has an effect on people being able to afford a house.
I don't
But
think
right
you're
now,
hold on,
it's
you're,
like
you're triggering me. Just to be clear, the Fed controls short-term rates. You recognize that, right? We all recognize
Okay,
that,
but
so I don't want to pick on you.
Yeah, man just said you're triggering me. Hey, so Castle,
You are triggering me. Wait.
Hold on, the internet tried to answer this question.
Do
Nobody
we
answered.
recognize that the Federal Reserve controls short-term interest rates and that long-term interest rates are affected by many other things?
yes, I know that, but I'm just saying in the
do we
long
recognize
term anyway that we have to be
Oh, he was
we have to
confused.
be aware
He's
of
just
what
trying to
the
make sure he
interest rate.
understood.
And I don't want to just pick on you. Grid, Tyler, Stream, do we all recognize that long-term interest rates are affected by a lot more than just what the Fed does?
I don't even understand how you thread arguments. You seem to go all over the place on some things and avoid very basic
I
concepts.
mean, yes, lots of different things affect
to be clear, what I'm getting at, what I'm getting at,
interest rates.
what I'm getting at here is that the Federal Reserve controls short-term interest rates. They can do they can do QE, they can do other
they can
things
make
that have
short-term
effects on a
changes.
long-term
Yes,
interest
that's
rate.
true. They can-
And
and
the
basically
long-term
it's-
interest
it's
rate, the
force it
long-term
into
interest
a
rate,
pattern.
10-year and 30-year interest rates, right, and bond yields are what is more important for mortgages. And if the Federal Reserve, one of the things that changes the 30-year and 10-year yield is inflation expectations. And if the Federal Reserve cuts short-term interest rates, that raises inflation expectations and won't necessarily have an effect on the real long-term interest rate because the nominal rate will increase by the amount that inflation expectation increases.
I really want to, before I forget about it, I really want to address
Then
something.
you have to
Castle
cut
said.
interest rates.
Yeah, go
You hear
ahead.
that, sorry? It was...
I really want to address something you said there. While it's true that currently there seems to, in some areas, it seems like there's a surplus of housing versus buyers. I don't think that bears out over the entire country. And the biggest reason that I see day to day for that is we have far less speculators and people who are what I consider hobbyist landlords, real estate investors getting into the market, and a lot of them are being frozen out of the market because real estate is an interesting and long term game. The people who try to play it short term tend to get screwed over. And what we're seeing is that when the interest rates changed, a lot of people who are buying these houses using the BRR method just lost their asses, and they're having to sell their houses, or they're getting foreclosed on, or things such as that. And right now, we're seeing houses stay. All right, so I can judge an area generically by what their turnover rate is, right? So if you're seeing houses inventory stay on the market past 90 days, that's unbelievably slow. Houses should not stay on the market 3 months average, and we're seeing a lot more of that because these investors just aren't there right now, and a lot of them are afraid of regulation coming down, and the obviously the banks haven't been willing to loan very well. A lot of banks weren't loaning on investment at all, so that all contributes to the supply of houses. When you take a good chunk of the buyers, which are these investors and speculators, when they can't go buy houses because they can't get funding, or they can't get approved for loans or whatever, those houses sit unbought, and unfortunately, not for me, but for other people, that's becoming a problem. So, and of course, that causes the demand to suffer, which means that if you try to sell, you're going to end up taking less than what maybe you really want.
Well, on that note, we got about 15 minutes left, and I do have another panel to get to, and I'm in a particularly aggressive mood tonight, so I'm excited to get to it. So we'll just get into closings here. It's been very, very a lot more contentious than I thought it would be for an econ panel, but Very good job, non-fawn, fighting the entire panel. Very proud of you. I enjoyed that.
Including Castle.
Yeah, and Castle, even fought his teammate. You know, to be fair, you can ask Tyler. This is a good compliment, a good sign, because one of the first times I debated with Tyler's my partner, I called him an idiot about 15 seconds in. So you're good company. So I think that's a good time. But go ahead. We'll get some closings here, and we'll get out of here. And I'm going to start fucking yelling about how much I love my gold diggers. Go ahead, Tyler, and kick us off.
Everything I said was right, obviously. Yeah, so just kind of going through some of the actual economic arguments that were being made. We heard that almost all of Trump's policies are bad for the economy, and all we got as the example was tariffs, where most of his other policies have been great for the economy, and either the 4.3 to 5.7 projected growth in Q4, good CPE reports, good CPI reports, and all the other points that were made that never got any pushback on, kind of show it is a pretty solid economy. This is coming from people that were saying Biden's economy was great by every metric, including one person on this panel, whereas Trump's economy is better on almost every one of those metrics, and we're just hearing, no, it's not really that good. It's a little bit better, it's not good, you know? Biden, his economy was really good, and people just are so stupid. They don't know anything about economics, and that's why they think it's bad. Trump's is slightly better. It's okay, I guess. It's just two sets of standards as always, and we're kind of pretending like the tariffs are the totality of Trump's economic policy when it's really just a small fraction of it, and most of them affect people globally just worse than they affect us in the United States. That being said, the trade war has not really given the payoff needed yet. We are seeing some pretty great investment, like 1.3 trillion from United Arab Emirates, 600 billion from Saudi Arabia, and these things. The $9 trillion cited more than just the White House. Bloomberg cites 7 to 9 trillion as well months ago, before more investment came in. That is a long-term investment over several years. They've gotten at least 3 to 4 trillion of it in already. We're seeing pretty large investment into the United States. And if you're saying it was going to happen anyways, why didn't it before? Why didn't we get a single year of $1 trillion investment under the previous president, even after he had a really good economy to the point where voters were so stupid they didn't know how good they had it? So again, we keep going off of what the experts say. We keep going off of vague economic rules that are very simplified, that don't take in the nuances of a real economy. And we keep going with the people that, again, keep getting inflation wrong. Got inflation wrong. Powell got it extremely wrong under Biden, said it was transitory. Ended up resulting in a massive spike in interest rates. And those interest rates, the lag to bring them down was because they got inflation wrong every single month that they predicted it under Trump. Every single month they got inflation wrong. They got growth wrong. They got jobs wrong. And they got wages wrong. What we're actually seeing right now is wages rising 50% higher than inflation. We're seeing a very good number, something Biden never accomplished a single year. He got barely over it in his 4th year in office, and people acted like he fixed the world. He fixed the economy. And if you ask them how we compare to the rest of the world, they say, well, compared to the other G7 countries that did the same things that we did on COVID, we were slightly better. Ignore the other 190 countries in the world, please, most of which didn't see that inflation that we got because they didn't do the same things. So at the end of the day, our economy isn't doing amazing under Trump. And again, the voters are feeling that. Trump made promises to bring prices down, and all he's done is stabilize the bleed from them by seeing wages rise about 50% higher. The unemployment that was being cited, again, most of that is due to the fact that he's firing federal workers en masse, and that he's deporting a lot of illegal workers, causing firms to have to pay more. Which again is completely fine. If we talk about how tariffs bring up wages, it's absolutely bad. But if we talk about how all the other policies represented by the people that dislike Trump also make things cost more, then those are fine because I agree with those policies. Yeah, let's keep doing fucking climate policies. Let's keep spending $20 billion to Stacey Abrams' fucking private super PAC where she hires a bunch of out of office Democrat staffers and pays them like 3 times what the average worker makes. Because climate justice and things of that nature. It's just we see massive amounts of spending under the other party that even at one point Jerome Powell was saying was a bad idea, despite the fact that he got a lot wrong. He got that right, and they fucking ignored him as well. So we are seeing better economic growth right now out of Trump. It's only slight, but it's getting better. And I expect with the majority of people that at the end of Trump's trade war, we're going to see probably a better economy than we're seeing right now. But again, Grid, I have to disagree with you. About 0.5 to 0.7% of our 2.7% inflation this year was the direct result of tariffs. We have not seen that juice being worth the squeeze yet.
0.76.
Thank you so much. Castle, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't think Nonfon and I disagree that much, maybe on the margins, but I appreciate all his research, but I think it gets back to the point that when you talk about economics, it's got to be way more top-down viewing. And I think it goes back to my conversation in my opening where I was asking people how they felt about how they were doing personally in the last year under Biden and how they felt like they were doing now. And more people felt like they were doing better now under Trump, even though marginally the numbers that everybody's citing, whether it's GDP, unemployment, they're barely changed. So I think it just shows a little bit of the hypocrisy where partisans get a little bit clouded to see who's in office and whether or not I agree with them because they're Democrat or whether I agree with them because they're Republican. So I think when you look at it for both sides, us streamers are saying things are going bad under a Democrat or good under a Democrat and vice versa. The American people both times are saying, hell no, we're not doing great right now, and we weren't doing great under Biden. And so we're ignoring the American people, and based on what they're saying, people aren't happy with the costs of goods, people aren't happy with the cost of housing. And we were trying to get into the reasons why, but nobody kind of addressed that main point is why are people unhappy? It was either because we were going back and blaming Biden for inflation, or we were saying that, oh, it's because tariffs really aren't that big of a deal. And, maybe they've affected things here and there a little bit. But I think that at the end of the day, there are things that Trump could have done a lot better to start his administration on the economic fronts. And I think tariffs is a big reason why we haven't seen inflation hit that 2% mark yet. It's been wobbly. It hasn't gone down to 2%. It's at 2.7 at the latest. The PPI is looking to be increased for the next month. So we'll see what happens in the trajectory then. We're seeing unemployment starting to increase, more job losses. So it's hard to say that the economy is going in a better direction than it was last year, even when Trump was first inaugurated. And I think that there are a lot of reasons that fall on his plate now. And a lot of Americans are starting to shift that blame from Biden to the Trump administration. It's been a year now, and people are already seeing that Trump hasn't, promised a lot of what he expected on the economy right now. And like Tyler said, we'll see at the end of the 4 years, but I just don't see it happening yet. And at the end of 4 years, we'll see if Trump actually gets it done or not. But I just don't think that we can call the American people liars for 4 straight years and not see the effects of the Republican Party get hit the hardest.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Streamrift.
I mean, when we're sitting here looking at these tariffs, like I think you guys are even. Let's just pretend it hasn't been super great on the inflation. Let's just pretend that that's the case. Fact of the matter is, a part of this is about driving interest in American manufacturing. There's been a complete shift on how folks are looking at sourcing components, equipment, all sorts of different things, and there's a shifting towards America. So when we're looking at it, it's not just about the dollars and cents. It's about folks in America having jobs. It's about us developing our workforce. It's about us having advanced manufacturing. Part of the reason why we're losing in AI to the extent that we're losing it is we don't have the skill to domestically manufacture chips, and we're trying to do that. There's a lot of reasons why it's skilled work that's going to take a while for us to ever be able to do efficiently here. But in the meantime, Daddy Trump's making it clear that we've got good relations with Taiwan. We can get chips. We said, hey, look, if you want access to the American market, you're going to have to support us on our policies. So we're in a position to have access to all of the equipment that we need to go into this next generation of hyper advanced technology. And I couldn't be happier about that. And so when we hear also leftists sitting here saying, like our good friend Nonfron saying, oh, H-1B, that's not a big deal. We've gutted the last 10 years of American engineering talent because we've given a preference for overseas folks for reasons that have nothing to do with the original policy. And so when we sit there and we see these policies that pass up American engineering talent, pass up manufacturing, we say, oh, well, these tariffs are bad. Well, having the ability to manufacture domestically is super important for a wide variety of reasons. And I realize that we've got probably some short attention spans here, but it wasn't too long ago where we had shortages of baby formula and just basics. Like the whole freaking premise of having domestic manufacturing, we can be completely self-reliant. We don't need any other fucking country. So America's arrogance comes from the fact that we really are fucking A-okay. We don't need anybody else. And if we need to hit them upside the back of the head with tariffs once in a while, maybe we should stop hiring some foreign engineering talent. I think the future's bright for America. God bless America.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Nonfon.
I don't think you guys understand anything. I just
The feeling is entirely mutual.
Sure, I just can't. I mean,
If
you guys want to join my Discord server, we can chat a little more after this. I mean, listen, first of all,
This hurt my head.
I'm gonna blow my brains out, bro. First of all, like, just to be, there's no way I can possibly address every single fucking lie.
Just give us some ending notes.
Just to be clear, when I'm pretty, like, when I say something like, I'm assuming what Tyler is referring to when I say like Biden had the best economy by every metric or whatever. What I'm guess I was referring to, I don't know what exact quote is bringing up, was that under Biden, you saw relatively similar to what we're still seeing now, the empirical data about GDP, about job numbers, about unemployment, about inflation, were aligned with how voters and how the median person perceived the economy. It's consumer sentiment used to track unemployment, used to track a lot of GDP numbers a lot better. Now it seems people are a lot more responsive to inflation than they are to things like unemployment. And I think part of that is due to social media. It's hard to say exactly what is driving that, but I think a lot of it's just because the media environment has changed. That doesn't mean I don't think U.S. voters are necessarily liars or anything. I just think that the media environment has changed in such a way that makes them more perceptive to inflation than it does to other things. And it's my understanding, if you look at American, people's reporting of how they are doing personally financially, that is a lot better than how they view the economy as a whole. So that again points to the media environment changing to me, because they're concerned about other people, not just themselves. I don't know. I don't know what to say, bro. You guys gonna tell me why the supply curve sloped upwards? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't think you guys understand fixed effects. Yeah. So listen, watch my old videos on NonFon on YouTube and NonFon420 and Twitch and Kick and Twitter. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Great. Go ahead and close this out here. Final thoughts.
All right, man. Yeah, we'll get it done. So first of all, while I appreciate Tyler being here, you need to fix your fucking microphone, or I'm going to come to Texas and whoop your ass.
That's right. Tell him.
I don't know whether it's switching from your headphone to your normal microphone or what, but it is in driving. My entire chat wants to whoop your ass right now. I'm just saying.
I'll fuck them all up.
No violence. Nobody hurt Tyler. He's a good boy.
So
He's a good boy.
Tyler needs a new mic. I think a lot of good salient points were made this evening. And honestly, the thing that I guess what strikes me is I don't think NonFon actually agrees or disagrees with much of what was said, but he just can't allow himself to give Trump a victory at all. The smallest smidgen of, yeah, he's doing okay, right? Like we're nearly 100% employment, which is fucking awesome. It's rad. We've got all of these really positive things going on in the economy, but you just can't let the guy take even a small W. And that's, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Because honestly, I didn't hear anything from NonFon tonight that was nearly like what he said back when we had the discussions about tariffs. He was much stronger and more opinionated back then, and and that's fine. We kind of got off in the weeds into real estate, which was weird, but fine. I would have preferred to have stayed on things like manufacturing, like bringing chip factories back to the United States. Building. We still build more airplanes than basically any other country in the world, and we're selling those. As a matter of fact, we can't make them fast enough. And I'm talking about at this point, I'm talking about like massive companies like Boeing and Raytheon and places like that just cannot make this shit fast enough. So we those jobs are coming back. We never even got there, which was just really sad. Overall, anybody who thinks that Trump's first year has been anything but success is deceiving themselves, and they really need to become a better American. And I'm just going to kind of leave it there where it's at.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. All right, folks, this is going to bring us to the end of Give Me a Break here in about 5 minutes or so, or 10 minutes. I don't know. I'll be on there shortly. We're going to be arguing about gold diggers and why.
Why are they talking about you tonight?
I don't know, man. It's crazy work. But I'll tell you
You're
what,
gold digging bitch is what I know.
We're going to be talking about. I'm really going to be talking about why TradCon people really believe in gold digging. If y'all want, it's going to be interesting. I'm pretty excited to make some people mad, and we're going to be headhunting. So just tune in here in a few minutes. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm sure we'll have.
I apologize. I will miss it, but I will.
Yeah, I'm sure you can watch it later. It'll be good. I'm sure there will be many more econ panels because we do need to talk about the military-industrial complex. Big fan of that. You know,
you are.
personally, yeah, big fan. So we'll talk about that more soon. Thanks everybody for coming. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's evening. And we'll be live on the next show in a brief moment. Chat. Let me just go to the pause screen. All right. We're out on our side. Thank you so much, guys. Y'all be good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the next one.
Peace.
What crazy? First of all, what insane fucking and it's not surprising. I've talked to Grid before. I've talked to or like I've seen the stream riff dude, and now like incredible overconfidence. and it's like they can't even tell me, like they don't even know why the supply curve slopes upward. Sorry, I killed myself. Yeah. Like what fucking crazy as shit. And I don't know how I'm expected to respond and address so many just lies in a closing statement. Like I don't know how else to even characterize that stuff. I'm so glad I missed most of that. Oh, don't worry. Be uploaded, and you can you guys can I'll watch it then. I mean, the VOD will be up anyways. But like controls short-term interest rates. They can do one
Address speculators and people who are what I consider these buyers, which are these problems. You're gonna
Tonight before an econ panel, but very good job, non-fawn.
And like, sorry, I just got like, bro, I don't understand how Tyler is like, non-fawn, your own study says 2 million jobs were lost due to trade away. It's like, do you think like I'm like do you think I don't know more about that than you? Like what do you like? I don't know what I told you about that. I don't even know if you could tell me the author or the authors or the title of the paper. Like what are we doing? It's like I know that's not their estimate. There are some people who have come up with larger numbers by trying to make a general equilibrium model, but it's like it's not even like do you don't think I know? You don't think I have reasons for rejecting that paper? I don't want to say rejecting for, well, there's quite a few problems with it. So maybe I'm comfortable saying rejecting. But it's like, you know, again, the instrumental variable is not valid. It violates the exclusion restriction. And Arthur Jordan Hansen is not a general equilibrium model. It is just I think, technical term, they do whatever, shift share design. It's just a difference in difference. It's calculating, well, the difference in difference between the commuting zones with regards to like import penetration. And you cannot get a national effect size from that. The way they try to get a national effect size is just totally valid.
In the entire panel, very proud of you. That sounds like debating.
Projected growth in quarter4.
Fucking yelling about how much I love my gold diggers. Go ahead, Tyler, kick us off.
Everything I said was right, obviously. Yeah, so just kind of going through some of the actual economic arguments that were being made. We heard that almost all of Trump's policies are bad for the economy, and all we got as the example was tariffs, where most of his other policies
I don't
have been great for the economy, and either the
like it's just not true. Because we talked about this. We talked about the housing policy. We talked about immigration and deportations. I mentioned those. Like this is obviously not true. We talked a little bit about not necessarily the Federal Reserve that much. We did talk about interest rates. Tangentially talked about Federal Reserve.
4.3 to 5.7 projected growth in quarter4. Good CPE reports, good CPE.
Like I directly addressed this, and it goes on to say I didn't address it.
All the other points that were made that never got any pushback on. Kind of show.
Like what do you mean? Like I remember saying, one, those are annualized, quarterly growth numbers. if you just look at what we don't have the final estimates yet or anything, but if you just look at like what 2025 GDP is projected to be overall, it's under 3%. It's not like extraordinarily high growth because again we had a contraction in Q1.
It was a pretty solid economy. This is coming from people that were saying Biden's economy was great by every metric, including one person on this panel. Whereas Trump's economy is better on almost every one of those metrics, and we're just here, no, it's not really that good. It's a little bit better.
And I have no fucking clue. Like, does he think, like, there's no way, you cannot tell me that, like, Tyler, like, honestly thinks that, like, my thought process is, like, Biden had really good GDP, but, like, the GDP is higher now under Trump, when that's just a figure that trends upward over time. Like, same with the stock market, right? It's like, yeah, stock market it trends upward over time. Asset values trend upward over time. Of course, it reaches, like, all-time high. Like that is a reason for thinking that, like, their economy or their economic policy is better.
Biden, his economy was really good, and people just are so stupid. They don't know anything about economics, and that's why they think it's bad. Trump's is slightly better. It's okay, I guess. It's just two sets of standards, as always, and we're kind of pretending like the tariffs and the totality of Trump's economic policy when it's really just a small fraction of it, and most of them affect people globally just worse than they affect us in the United States. That being said, the trade war has not really given the payoff needed yet. We are seeing some pretty great investment, like $1.3 trillion from United Arab Emirates.
I obviously address this. It's all bullshit.
Saudi Arabia on these things. The $9 trillion cited more than just the White House. Bloomberg cited $7 to $9 trillion as well months ago, before more investment came in. That is a long-term investment over.
I don't even know. I know Bloomberg has like a debunking of the 9 trillion number. I think Bloomberg did a commitments closer to 7 trillion. It's talking about his 21 trillion number. I think this is Bloomberg going through, yeah, they're going through the 9.6 trillion. I think they're talking about $7 trillion that constitutes, so they're talking about what is actual investment. But I don't believe Bloomberg's had like is saying this is $7 trillion of investment that's going to happen. I imagine they're saying of the like $9 trillion like bullshit claim that Trump makes, like it doesn't even like not even only 7 trillion of it even reaches the standard of being an investment. And a lot of the other, and like of the 7 trillion, I don't think they're claiming that is going to happen. I think they'd probably be aligned with me in saying that this is like obviously a quite absurd number. A lot of it might reflect stuff that happens anyway. That would have happened anyway. What could be considered real investment pledges that is more than all the foreign direct investment accumulated in the US since statistics were first collected? All those delivered on the timelines laid out by companies in the White House, the total would work out to 1.5 trillion a year, or about 5% of GDP. That kind of surge would be unheard of outside of times of crisis, said an economist dude. Meeting Trump's claims would represent a tripling of the current AI investment boom. Oh, they talk specifically about AI investment here. Like, I don't know. It doesn't sound like they're taking these numbers as particularly plausible here. 250 billion. The White House pledges were announced or planned before Trump retook office. No way to know how many of the other projects would have happened anyway, or merely reallocations of earlier plans. The auto sector, for example, much in the investment administration highlights has been reallocated to combustion engine projects as Trump has eliminated subsidies for electric vehicles. $1.2 trillion came out from Qatar. Or $500 billion from India. Saudi pledged to invest $600 billion. Just months ahead of the 1.4 trillion UAE pledge was made in May ahead of a Trump visit to Gulf. Differences emerged. And again, like the EU, there's like an EU official has clarified, like the EU does not even have the legal authority to enforce the deal that they signed on to. Silly child, don't you know good has made millions of dollars before he knows everything about macroeconomics? Yeah, apparently. He knows a lot about savings and investments, so I've heard.
Several years. They've gotten at least 3 to 4 trillion of it in already. We're seeing pretty large investment into the United
I don't know what the fuck the source is for that. Foreign direct investment this whole year, I don't even think has reached 1 trillion.
States. And if you're saying it was going to happen anyways, why didn't it before? Why didn't we get a single year of $1 trillion investment under the previous president, even after he had a really good economy to the point where voters were so stupid they didn't know how good they had it?
I don't even know. You'd have to declare. We didn't get $1 trillion in foreign investment, and we're still not. These are all investment pledges. Like almost none of this, like basically none of this has actually happened yet. Edit graph. Annual. 2024, we got 200 billion, right? Yeah, it's in billion, so it's 200 billion. We don't have all the 2025 numbers yet, but like if we just add up quarterly data so far. One, 7, 2, 1, 3, 2 plus 407 488 plus 218 16 was it? 16. And then we don't have fourth quarter yet, but like let's just be generous and take the highest number from the previous 3 quarters. We get that's 1.2 trillion. For being super charitable there. I know what you said, strong potential. What? What? Which if I go back to annual, I bet we've had years of trillion investment before. Nah, maybe not. None of these fuckers even care. They don't even understand how the Catholic account surplus works. Oh my god, I'm gonna crash out about to balance the payments for the 100th time, folks. Oh, kill me.
So again, we keep going off of what the experts say. We keep going off of vague economic rules that are very simplified that don't take into
True. That was me the whole time. I was very vague about the economic rules. That was me.
of a real economy, and we keep going with the people that, again, keep getting inflation wrong. Got inflation wrong. Powell got extremely wrong under Biden, said it was transitory, ended up resulting in a massive spike in interest rates. And those interest rates, the lag to bring them down was because they got inflation wrong every single month that they predicted under Trump. Every single month they got inflation wrong.
It's not even worth, is it even worth fighting on this? But like, oops, Fred, like, no, like, I'm not, I've read a little bit of Scott Sumner. I don't know. Like, I don't even think interest rates are necessarily the best way to judge monetary policy. And like, you could open a monetary policy textbook and they say that short-term interest rates are not a necessarily great. You can watch Ben Bernanke say the same thing. They're not necessarily a great way to view the current stance of monetary policy. Nominal GDP growth is probably better. That's been, we obviously way overshot it during COVID. And it's not been particularly tight. Like 4% is about what is kind of expected. And we only, like, we're at 4.5 quarter two. Now we're back up to 5. Like,
they got growth wrong, they got jobs wrong, they got wages wrong. What we're actually seeing right
I have no clue. I don't even know what you're referring to here. You gotta be referring to just the revisions they make to the payroll numbers, which is just like bullshit. Like, yeah, they revise the payroll numbers as more people answer the survey, and later on when they get tax data, or he's referring to the what the Fed governors project. And I don't even know, do they I think they project the unemployment rate. I don't even think they project payrolls, do they? Fed governor payrolls action. Is this consensus estimate from the governors? Expected by who? I don't know if they project payroll numbers. Heavily analyzed to project payroll numbers, such as non-farm payroll, as part of their assessment or labor market. Where's that gonna be on that fucking actual Fed website? They should. It's the Taylor rule calculator. It's not what I want. I know they do the unemployment rate. I don't even know if they. Kill me.
Right now, his wages rising 50% higher than inflation. We're seeing a very good number, something Biden never accomplished a single year. He got barely over it in his 4th year in office, and people acted like he fixed the world. He fixed the economy. And if you ask them how we compare to the rest of the world, they say, well, to compare to the other G7 countries that did the same things that we did on COVID, we were slightly better. Ignore the other 190 countries in the world, please, most of which didn't see that inflation that we got because they didn't do the same things. So at the end of the day, our economy isn't doing
I don't even know what the point is here, bro.
Barely over it in his 4th year, 50% higher than inflation. We're seeing a
like, again, I care about fixed effects. I don't care about comparing the monthly like data. The president in that way.
Never accomplished a single year. He got barely over it in his 4th year in office, and people acted like he fixed the world. He fixed the economy. And if you ask them how we compare to the rest of the world, they say, well, to compare to the other G7 countries that did the same things that we did on COVID, we were slightly better. Ignore the other 190 countries in the world, please.
I think there's a decent argument you can make that we did better because we did more stimulus than many of the European countries. Now, I think it's kind of obvious we also overshot it to some extent, but
which didn't see that inflation that we got because they didn't do the same things. So at the end of the day, our economy isn't doing amazing under Trump. But again, the voters are feeling that Trump made promises to bring prices down, and all he's done is stabilize the bleed from them by seeing wages rise about 50% higher. The unemployment that was being cited, again, most of that is due to the fact that he's firing federal workers en masse, and then he's deporting a lot of illegal workers, causing firms to have to pay more, which again is completely fine. If we talk about
source, please. None of these fuckers provided like any evidence, bro. The best you got was Tyler thinking he knew more about the study that I believe I'm the one who informed him about that study. And then him like Googling jobs lost to free trade or whatever, and just finding Robert D. Scott's work. Dude, I fucking know. He got like that 4.5 million number from Robert D. Scott. I fucking know. And then he said 3.5 million from CIS. I'm not familiar with their estimate, but I would bet they made very similar mistakes to Robert D. Scott.
How tariffs bring up wages is absolutely bad, but if we talk about how all the other policies represented by the people that dislike Trump,
also, it's not even.
Yeah, it's completely fine. If we talk about how tariffs bring up wages, it's absolutely bad.
There's no evidence of that. In fact, there's evidence of the opposite, that they decrease average wages.
But if we talk about how all the other policies represented by the people that dislike Trump also make things cost more, then all those are fine because I agree with those policies.
You need a new rogues gallery.
Spending $20 billion into Stacey Abrams
for the. What do you mean? You're talking about the banner I have for the.
Super PAC, where she hires out of office Democrat staffers and pays them like 3 times what the average worker makes because climate justice and things of that nature. It's just we see massive amounts of spending under the other party that even at one point Jerome Powell was saying was a bad idea, despite the fact that he got a lot wrong. He got that right, and they fucking ignored him as well. So we are seeing better economic growth right now under Trump. It's only slight, but it's getting better. And I expect with the majority of people that at the end of Trump's trade war, we're going to see probably a better economy than we're seeing right now. But again, Grid, I have to disagree with you about 0.5 to 0.7% of our 2.7% inflation this year was the direct result of tariffs. We have not seen that juice being worth the squeeze yet.
0.76.
Thank you so much. Castle, go ahead.
It is 0.76 of all items CPI. And then Grid and Streamer FO. I don't know. Stupid shit, bro.
And we're selling those. Matter of fact, we can't make them fast enough. Overall, and I'm just going to kind of leave it there. Where's that?
All right. Well, thank you all so much. All right, folks. This is going to bring us to the end. Give me.
I don't know. Kill me. What up?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the whole debate thing, and certain people on that crew are interesting to say the least. But yeah, I think everybody basically like they just ignore the points on certain data sets, which makes it hard to argue with them. So I didn't mean to like I don't think it came off this way, but like when Grid said at the end that we were arguing, I didn't argue with anything you said.
No worries. No, yeah. We're good.
You do your research, like clearly. But I think with that group, they just literally they just zone out if they don't hear anything that makes sense to them, and so then it just they just like start to ignore you and then just uh, call names out there or whatever. So, but yeah, like I didn't think, and I don't know if you were calling me out or anything, and if so, I wanted to address certain things if you had like issues with what I said, but. I mean, we're on the same side, but I just think in ways of going about how to like dispel their narrative, you have to like simplify it for them more, I think that's what I was trying to get
That's
at
been, yeah, that's been
uh,
the issue. I don't know how to get these people's brains to understand what I'm saying, bro.
yeah, because like the whole thing with like the institution and like house buying up and all that stuff, like you were totally right on the data, and they were just like missing the point. So
Mhm.
I don't even know how I honestly, like when you get to a point where it's not getting through, I just go to the next thing. It's not even worth my time because they're just gonna like go back to their talking points and not understand. It's like that was a big thing for me. It was like once I knew they were like gone, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna try to find a different talking point that maybe they'll understand better.
Yeah, but then it feels like they like get away with it though. I don't know, it's annoying.
Yeah.
But
Well, it was like 3v2, and then at some points it was like 3v1. Like everybody was just like going after you, so it was tough. It was way tougher for you. Like I'm just used to being in Grid and Gibbs's streams where it's like I'm always the one person who I know will be out of sorts. So I just like sit there and just like wait for moments where they mess up. Like Grid had an example where he was like, "Yeah, consumer confidence is way up," and it's like, dude, the consumer confidence level is like the lowest it's ever
yeah,
been,
it's
and
like,
like
yeah.
things like that where they just like they'll put themselves in a corner, and I kind of just like wait for those moments. But yeah, I think the only thing I would want to debate or like talk about with you is like the whole Biden economy. And they bring that point up a lot where they're like, well, Biden's economy wasn't good. And I agree with you that the Biden economy was good in the same way that they point at the Trump economy as being good, like the certain data metrics.
Mhm.
But like, do you agree with me that that never came to fruition in voters' minds? Because that's what I was getting at. It's like, yeah, the Biden economy, you could say was good, but like voters just never understood it or saw that. And I think that's the same thing that's what's happening with Trump is like they're saying the economy is good now, but it's like, guys, the voters aren't seeing that at all either.
Um, I agree the vibes were off. I just like I said, I think, from my understanding, you can like make indexes of, how well consumer sentiment tracks with various metrics, and it'll work. It'll predict very well before COVID how well they react to unemployment and GDP and the such. And then after COVID, it seems like voters just react way more strongly to inflation than they do
Mm-hmm.
um,
Like
unemployment or
unemployment.
GDP
Yeah.
or anything else, really. And then again, it's my understanding a lot of people have a negative perception of like the economy as a whole, but they don't have as much of a negative perception as of like their personal financial situation.
Right.
A lot of people tend to rate that pretty decent.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of what I was getting at too in my intro and outro is like all the Trump people think their personal economy was great now, but not during Biden. It's like literally nothing has changed unless you were unemployed under Biden, which the unemployment rate was lower at certain points. Then it should not be the case. But that's why I was getting at like the partisanship there. It's like that makes no sense if you think the last term of Biden was worse than what we're doing right now. Because I think the projections right now under Trump are probably worse than at any point under Biden. I guess maybe you could point to when inflation was starting to creep up past like 5-6% going into like 9%. Like those were times where things were starting to get bad, but uh, then they abated. But yeah, I think the thing with Trump now is like people and voters are seeing like things aren't getting better and his tariffs aren't helping at all. Like I just don't understand their argument on tariffs. Like I don't know how. I think it was Stream Rift was like not understanding how tariffs were a negative for the economy. I think Tyler understood it. Grid is whatever. He'll love whatever Trump does. But like Stream was definitely one I was kind of surprised. I'm like, how can you not understand that the tariffs are a bad thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he knows very much. I don't. I
Yeah.
don't get it. I've seen Streamrift. I've never talked to him before, but I've seen him around. I haven't seen him talk about any econ stuff before. I don't know where he's getting his information from. I think he just seeing shit on Twitter. Really,
I think they all use whatever happens to them. They're like, oh, well, I live in Las Vegas and all these companies are buying up buildings. Or like Grid was like, well, I bought 5 houses in this neighborhood. I'm like, guys, that when we're talking about data, we're not talking about how you have been affected personally. We're talking about national trends. We're talking about even state trends, whether it's housing or GDP or whatever, or unemployment. And then they would all just bring it back to, well, where I live, I see this. And it's like, I don't know how you can argue. I mean, I'm not saying it's illegitimate, but it's not indicative of what people are feeling nationally.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say my piece, and if you had anything else or things about my points or that were good or bad or anything feedback of that sort. But yeah, I didn't want to keep you or anything if you had to do other stuff.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any. I don't think I'm the best rhetorical debater out there or anything. So I don't think I have any advice for you on that stuff. Really. I mean, I thought you were good when you talked and stuff. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, all this stuff, all the data you brought was totally valid. I think that's the thing too, is anytime you bring up research papers or data from certain economic institutions, they just shut off immediately and they're like, well, I haven't seen that, or they're like, oh, this is appeal to authority. So yeah,
Dude, it's great to me. Tyler, for some reason thinks he understands that paper better than I do or something. I don't
that's the annoying part too, is when you research something and you understand and somebody's trying to tell you how to interpret it. It's
yeah.
The only reason I couldn't jump in there is I myself was unfamiliar, but I'm sure the frustration on your end was palpable for sure. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he, first of all, could not even say the name of that paper. I don't even think he's really seen it or anything. I think he only knows about it because I told him about it. And I
which is also kind of ironic.
Yeah, and it's I don't understand how you're telling me about the study when I don't even think he knows anything about it.
Yeah, he posted something too about in the group chat thing where it was about, where is it? Institutions. Oh yeah, the CNBC article where he said real estate investors, both individual and institutional, bought 1/3 of all single-family residential properties. But he didn't even
I don't
bifurcate between an investor could be an individual, it could be anybody. That doesn't mean that they're these giant corporations. Investors can be a small company, it could be one person. And so I think they just see headlines and then try to interpret it a certain way, but then they don't read the data in it.
Yeah, I don't know about these numbers specifically, but usually when you see numbers like this, it's meme slop numbers. It's I can't have every single slop source memorized. Okay, I get it. There were times where it's I literally know what he was citing. I guarantee you that he was citing Robert E. Scott for that one for that one number. I bet he was reading it either from the EPI
but
or.
That's why I think if you were in a one-on-one setting with just Tyler, it's totally different. I think you did the same thing with him with tariffs, and you won the tariff debate. I think that's where you probably would have had a good shot, because then you wouldn't have had, Grid or whoever interrupt you. And I think in a 1v1 setting, you would have been able to get him to concede more, because in this type of thing, it's just whoever yells the most or the less. So I understand why you were trying to get in every way, but then everybody ganged up on you. So it's tough to respond to everybody. But yeah, you brought up another point too to him, where somebody was citing numbers, and this is going to sound so vague. Somebody was citing some numbers, and then you were like, yeah, but if you read into it, it was because this. I forget if it was.
I think it was the GDP now, right? Yeah. So,
because every time these numbers come out, there's context behind it that they'll include, especially like in the inflation. When inflation comes out, it's like, oh, it's lower this month, but it's like, yeah, we also had a government shutdown during this time. I think it was December when the number came out. It's like you have to include that in certain aspects of it that make it so. So yeah, you can always use statistics in that way.
yeah, I don't know if you know about the GDP now stuff or whatever, but yeah, it's crazy that I don't know, he said 5% too, and they've already adjusted it down.
Yeah. Well, that's
it's
the
just
thing.
all the.
It's like these are just estimates from the Atlanta Fed. Like they made the same estimates under Biden when it was going to be lower, and it ended up being higher. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's yeah, all the like the trade uncertainty stuff a lot of times fucks with the GDP now here right now because like if you so the like equation for GDP, consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net exports, you know, the imports are net effect is 0 on GDP. So if I import, like if I buy a shirt, $30 shirt from another country, that'll be plus $30 in consumption and minus $30 in net export. So the net effect is 0.
Right.
And sometimes with the GDP now stuff, especially because the trade deficit fluctuates like crazy right now because it's a bunch of tariff uncertainty, they'll get certain data, like they'll get inventories data before they get the trade data, and that will lead to them including the imports in inventories, which is part of investments, but not subtracting them as part of net exports. And a lot of times, and that I think is what, to a decent extent right now, is driving up the GDP, or was driving up the GDP now estimate to 5%, and now it's back down that they got the trade data.
Yeah, and there was a point too where you mentioned to grid. I think it was like what assets minus investment is or whatever.
Yeah,
he
savings.
Definitely didn't know. He had no idea. Yeah. And what's funny is like they're like, oh yeah, Grid's like a businessman, like he's a millionaire or whatever. And it's like, dude, there's so many millionaires out there who also still don't understand, accounting. It doesn't mean that they know everything. So that was also kind of funny though when you brought that up.
Yeah. It's half it, dude. I've talked to like multiple different people who are like business owners, and I'm not claiming I'm not an economist, okay? I ain't no fucking expert, but like this is like macro like 101 here. Like you just read a textbook and like see this stuff, and I'm sure you're a great business owner, but it doesn't mean that you know some of the macro stuff.
Right, like micro and macro are totally different. Like I'm not to rag on business owners either, because like obviously to be profitable they have to know how to run it. But when it comes to the national and federal economies, it's a totally different thing. That's why it annoys me when a lot of them who, if they're Republicans or even conservative, they're like, we need to run the government like a business. Like we wouldn't run up all this debt if I had a business. And it's like, well, that's not how the government should be run. It shouldn't be run like a business. Otherwise, everybody would be fucking poor, and we would make no money. So that's what always annoyed me with that logic is like, the government, we run deficits for a reason, or we have this amount of investment for a reason. But yeah.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Anyways, I'll see you around. I'll follow you on this Discord too. I saw you put it in the chat, so I joined it. But yeah, it was good at least.
Do you stream it? I remember. I think when I friended you, I looked at try to see if you had whatever stuff. Do you stream at all? I don't know if you.
I mostly just tweet. I streamed this one just because I felt like it was the first one I felt comfortable streaming. Like economic stuff is usually my go-to, so I did stream. I don't stream in general. I'm starting to do more YouTube stuff now, but I'll do debates on Discord with certain folks. So I see like certain communities like Wick or Gibbs and certain others. I'll try to join debates when I can. So, but yeah, that's mostly it.
Okay, well, yeah, it was nice meeting you. I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk again or see each other in some panel. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Have a good night, man.
You too. I appreciate it. Oh my God. What's up? Welcome back, Easy Money. Welcome, Chosky and Gavin. Ugh. Good Lord. What else do I have even? Oh, what's up, momentum? Bro, I don't know. I'm poofed at this point. How did the debate go? It was painful. I mean, I think I did well, but it was frustrating. Okay. Listen, we all know how much I love inequality, okay? I just want to say, this is like, I think this is like 50% a truc. It's like at least 50% truc.
Not, but here's the problem in economics. We have this
Just be meaner. I was pretty mean in the debate.
thing which we teach our students, which is that we cannot compare utilities across people. That is, we think utilities must be treated as ordinal rather than cardinal. And there's little scientific basis for that. We actually do know a lot about what makes people happier and so on. So why have we insisted on this?
Every non-violent debate I realize is painful, slowly but surely. I'm assuming you mean debating will give you a full-on heart attack, probably.
Now think about the ordinal assumption. You cannot say that my marginal benefit from having this extra caviar I'm going to have is less or greater than the marginal benefit for somebody who's getting milk for their kid. That's what you're prevented from saying. Now, suppose you knew somebody who was like that. Suppose you knew somebody who couldn't make judgments like that. Would you like to have them as a roommate? Would you maybe consider them to be sociopathic? Because if you can't make judgments, if you can't say something, I'll take the garbage out tonight, dear, it would be less trouble for me than for you. You cannot say that. Less trouble for me than for you means you're comparing marginal utilities. Ordinary statements of what a decent human being is are being precluded. Our students must think we're a little off, don't you think? And why do we...
It's kind of true, okay. Now, I mean, you can see there's a lot of a lot of people I follow like quote tweeted it or replied to it or whatever. I do think, from my understanding, there are plenty of economists who like make social welfare functions and like will talk about the effect of, you know, increasing marginal tax rates on the social welfare function, right? But it's just correct. The theory failed to describe what anyone else actually means when talking about utility. Dude, you know what's dude, I saw fucking someone, I don't remember who it was. Where'd I put it? Dude, maybe I did not understand this. I greatly admire my colleague Sam, but I disagree with this interpretation. We have to distinguish decision utility, which is non-comparable across people, from normative judgments about welfare, which do allow interpersonal comparisons. I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something. Why is welfare able to do interpersonal comparisons, but decision utility isn't? This equivocation? Yeah, it's like, I don't even know how those terms are different here. Or like, they're not different in such a way where I could see one kind of being interpersonally comparable and the other one not. Rip? What got ripped?
For you. You cannot say that. Less trouble.
We're not saying people cannot make these comparisons based on their own judgments. We say that we cannot do it axiomatically. I don't know, maybe I'm misreading people. He's really mad that we can't axiomatically get policies he wants. He can't get over. I just don't. It happened. I guess I saw easy money. Just doing that stuff first.
Is Our high school cafeterias should be run by great local businesses, small business restaurants that have local labor, that use Florida cattle, Florida produce, Florida fruit, and yes, Florida orange juice. They should take over our cafeterias. What's with the Pop-Tarts in the Broward County Public Schools in the cafeterias? I'm not saying that the test scores are a result of the Pop-Tarts, but if you wanted kids to fail, if you wanted to set up our kids for failure, you would feed them the absolute goy slop in our cafeterias.
Oh, they love it. Oh, he said the thing. This guy's on Instagram Reels.
And that is on Gentile, okay?
Whoa. Pulling at 4%, by the way. He does have quite a bit of support among Gen Z, though, but yeah. Same Gen Z is not gonna, I don't even think they're gonna, even if people would support him, probably not gonna care enough to fucking vote. Probably gives it like 13% winning odds. Yeah, he was, well, last time I, the primary, yeah. Last time I checked it, he was pretty low. I don't know, maybe it's up since then. Holy market James Fishback. Oh shit, he's at 16% now. Oh, it's over. Brian, H1 Brian is, he's cooked, guys. Oh no. Putting all my money on a Fishback. He can win this for us. Go to Gen Z is. How long is it? Hour 50 minutes.
I don't think.
Although I guess 30 minutes of it is a waiting screen.
Cato,
This is gonna be interesting.
Cato Institute website.
We also have Simon Hankinson from the Heritage Foundation. Mr. Hankinson, where's the best place for people to find your research on this topic?
Heritage.org also has a lot of my stuff, or Google.
Maybe after he loses the election, he'll check some disinfectant. Or after he's loses, he's got to go chasing back his fucking 17-year-old ex-fiance.
Is a net benefit or net cost to the United States?
Well, the basic metric is, does it make America safer, more prosperous, stronger? Is it good for the country? And you can look at various studies. Cato just did one.
How fun are you from Florida? No, I'm from North Carolina, and I live in North Carolina.
Center for Immigration Studies, Federation for American Immigration Reform, Manhattan Institute. Everybody has their agenda when you go into it. But at the end of the day, it seems pretty clear that younger
and Heritage Foundation does it.
Add to the Treasury over their lifetime, and sicker, older, or less educated people take away over their lifetime by various amounts. But all the studies seem to pretty much agree on that. So if it was just about money, then we should take half the population of Washington, D.C. that's on Medicaid and ship them to Bangladesh, pay the Bangladeshis peanuts to take care of them, and then ship over 300,000 Bangladeshi workers to do the jobs, and we'd be better off. But to me, there's more to being an Englishman than just physical presence. And the same with Americans or French or Dutch or Prussians if you're a Gilbert Sullivan fan. There's something else to a nation. There's some other quality that matters. And humans are not just work units. If we don't care if it's Gustav or Jerry or Carlos or Charlie or Mohammed or Melvin, it's just how many widgets can you make in a day? How many cars can you make in a week? We don't care.
Bro doesn't need, bro.
You know the language, the culture, the history. If you love the country,
can't even get a real bookshelf. Okay, already lost. Already lost. What are we doing? Horrible.
Kids to fight for
AI green screen.
Volunteer for the fire department. If none of that matters, if we're just labor units.
Not fun. I know you failed to avenge our friend Econoboy last time you were close to Destiny. Will you fail once again? Oh yeah. By the way, if anyone doesn't know, they delayed the UFA event because it was gonna rain, and also I don't think it's factored into their decision, but there was still, where I was, there was still a little bit of snow and ice on the roads. It's on the 13th now, and by the fucking way, okay. I, had a hotel booked, and fucking and their cancellation policy, okay, to be clear, says free cancellation up until the day of check-in, right? It's like until, like, you can check in at 3 p.m. It's like literally, I think until like 12 p.m. that day or something, like you can, like, free cancellation. I canceled fucking a full ass day before. I hope you and your lesbian friend have a good trip. Screenshotting that, sending it to Isaac right now. Isaac's gonna love it. I think by the way, North might be going as well. Hopefully. So that'll be fun. But I cancel. Okay, a full day before. Technically not a full. It was like 23 hours before the free cancellation window was up. And these motherfuckers still charge me. And I call them. They charge me at 2 a.m. Now, luckily, I have a fucked up sleep schedule, so I call them at 3 a.m. when I see it. And they fucking take back what's yours, not fun, snark, and destiny, one final time. I do want to talk to him. I don't know for sure about what, though. I could actually talk to him about some immigration stuff. I think I've seen him justify immigration to people by being like, oh, well, we're below 5% unemployment, and that's the natural rate of unemployment. So, like, we need to bring more immigrants in to get closer to the natural rate of unemployment because it's, we don't want, like, a wage price spiral. And it's just like, well, for one, I'm not convinced that ever was that much of a thing. And I think if it was, I forget the name of that paper, the Who Killed the Phillips Curve murder mystery. I think it's like, oh, we should be a lot less concerned about it now because of the decline in like union power and labor negotiating, right? So that, I don't think that's really a concern with the wage price spiral stuff there. I don't know how useful the natural rate of unemployment is as a concept to begin with. And then, I don't mean, like, net employment would kind of matter there, and it's not, I don't even think, like, immigrants probably don't even really reduce net employment. Like, they probably have some, like, pretty close to zero impact on net employment. Read Iglesias and Noah Smith's Democratic immigration policy, immigration platforms. I've read, like, some of Iglesias' stuff on that issue. I don't think I've read, probably not specifically what you're talking about, but, like, I know Iglesias has a few, articles on immigration and what Biden should have done and such that I've read before. But anyway, I call these motherfuckers 3 a.m. Back to the person at front desk. Say, oh, our system is being audited, and once it realizes you haven't been here and it completely audit, it'll be fine. Okay, whatever. I fucking wake up the next day, and I wait a bit after I wake up, and I call them again. They're like, oh, well, that's a manager issue. My manager comes in tomorrow. She'll call you then or whatever. And I get a call today, okay? Actually, I missed it because I was sleeping, and then I called them when I woke up. I said, hey, am I getting my refund? And they say, these motherfuckers, okay? This shit pissed me off. Where do you work? I'm a streamer. Right here. Drop your Prime sub right now. These motherfuckers say, we refunded you as a one-time courtesy. And like, I don't want to push back too much because I want the refund, but like, the fuck you mean one-time courtesy? What do you mean? What? It was crazy. I'm pissed off about it. And I'm still going to book them again when I go. Because there's not many hotels that accept people under 21.
Then we should have unlimited immigration, and there should be a free market, which is essentially the position I believe that David's going to argue. But my position is that the metrics should count more than just pure dollars and cents at the end of the day.
Mr. Beer, what metrics do you use?
Use a different name. Get a free one, free new one time. Yeah, exactly. Let's go. Hopefully one day. I don't think they'll delay it again, but it is crazy. Literally, the entire like week leading up to the Friday they chose is like sunny, less than 10% chance of rain. They choose the day with a 40% chance of rain, and also Friday the 13th. Like, what the, like, I'm not superstitious, but come on, like, you're choosing the one with the highest chance of rain and also I mean, Friday the 13th, you got to up, you know, you got to up the probability there at least 1% or something. You know, on the off chance that there is a, you're wrong about, or I'm wrong about not being superstitious.
To determine whether or not immigration is a net benefit or net cost to the United States?
Look, as a libertarian, my principle is it in does it expand individual liberty? Does it impose on the rights of individuals in the United States? Does it violate my right to life, liberty, and property? If it does, then the government should intervene to prevent that from happening, protect my rights. That's the
I'm already triggered. Is this thing a net benefit? Well, I'm a libertarian. I care about rights. Wait, never mind. This is boring. Yeah, I don't know how much we'll watch.
The government in our society, as laid out in the Declaration of Independence, and it's sort of the founding organizing principle of the Constitution. And so when I look at immigration, I see a lot of people who come here and associate and contract and trade with Americans on a voluntary basis. And as long as it's voluntary, as long as people are coming for peaceful purposes and want to you know, live and work and otherwise contribute to our society in a legal way, then
I need to do 2x. I'm already on 1.75, I think.
And
well, 1.5.
So that's the basic framework that I have, is one of individual rights. My right to marry someone and live with them here in the United States is none of the government's concern. The same for if I want to hire someone or be employed by someone or buy from someone or sell my home or rent my home or whatever other actions that we might want to take. As long as it's voluntary, that means it's mutually beneficial. It's between consenting parties. There's a mutually beneficial interaction there that we recognize.
Let's go. We got Heritage Americans versus a priori synthetic claims. Let's go. Technically, I don't think that I might be misusing term. Is that technically a I'm sure this guy's probably smart enough to moderate that a bit, and he's just speaking in generalities. But if you is like the position that like some like trade voluntary interaction like necessarily means that it's ex ante mutually beneficial. Isn't that technically is that a synthetic a priori claim? I might be using that too broadly.
In the rest of the world, you know, in all of our other, you know, interactions, we kind of recognize this principle, but in immigration is the one.
I hate all libertarians except my one Ron Paul worship friend who's cool.
Cornered off and say we're not going to apply this presumption in favor of liberty. And so, yes, if someone's coming here to harm our country and violate our rights, then yeah, that's a role for the government to intervene. But otherwise, the government should stay out of it and let Americans be the ones to set immigration policy rather than a bunch of bureaucrats who think they know more than you or I do about our own lives. And so that's the sort of fundamental premise of what I think about when I think about is something good or bad for the country. It's not in dollar terms. It's in terms of our rights and our liberties. And when you think about the flip side of it, well, if it's true that, as it's sometimes said, the government owns the United States, which is a complete repudiation, ahistorical view of the history of the United States, and the Constitution directly repudiates it. The government does not own the United States; it's not the owner of the country. And so, if you adopt that view, then that really is the path to totalitarianism. Because if the government is the owner of the country, then it can really dictate any rules it wants. It could, of course, deport Americans to a foreign country because that's in the interest of the United States, however defined. And so, I do think it's problematic where you adopt a principle that you wouldn't adopt in any other sphere in the immigration space. And my view is we should instead apply the same principles that we adopt anywhere else to the immigration policy of the United States.
Mr. Hankinson, how do you respond to David's claim we should have a general presumption of liberty first in general and then not have double standards for the sphere of immigration between countries?
Yeah, well, if you go by that philosophy, you know, if I could sell my daughter into prostitution and make money off it, why shouldn't I do that? Doesn't hurt you.
Let's go! Ask him about the age of consent, okay? Fuck it, I'm on this guy's side now. Ask him about the age of consent. Ask him about the age of consent. Let's go. Let's go. Do it.
No problem. Children are excellent workers down mines and places where you need small.
Why is this so quiet, bro?
Work. And there's no reason to educate them all because in New York City right now, I was just reading in New York State, only about 25% of kids can do math at grade level and only about a third of them can read and write. So we could send them down the mines and put them in the factories. And why should anyone really disturb my right to do that? And then last time
Dude, I feel it coming too. This guy's good. The libertarian dude is gonna immediately. He's gonna appeal to the outcomes of of like private versus public schools instead of just talking about the principles of rights violations. Oh, I feel it coming. What's the age of consent meme? Yeah, but it's just like a general meme of like asking a libertarian what the age of consent should be, or like if age of consent laws are like immoral. Because like some like the crazy libertarian people will say they are and stuff. How does this guy not shit his pants every single second of the day? Which guy? I think they both are right now, actually. They're both pretty old, right? Actually, the libertarian David guy, he doesn't look that old. This guy looks like he could be press and diaper age, I don't know.
We talked about, we were in the Wall Street.
He doesn't even look that old, man. He looks like maybe, like, if you told me he was like 55, I'd be like, oh, that look kind of, you know, maybe like smoked or something. He doesn't even look that old.
Washington Convention Center. And I asked him, you know, what
If I make a steel man for ending the Fed. I mean, I think you would just appeal to, well, the market is gonna, well, I think, okay, the steel man would be one, there's no good reason to have a monopoly on currency in the way the Fed does, and you should allow competition in the currency market to be, and that would be more efficient. That would let, you know, people satisfy their preferences more, having a variety of options and such. Two, you would resolve the moral hazard issues with regards to being the lender of last resort, and technically deposit insurance is not like really part of the Fed, right? Like the FDIC, I don't think it's like directly under the Fed, but you know, that type of thing, lender of last resort, deposit insurance, moral hazard encourages risky lending, and therefore, you know, that leads to risky, you know, malinvestment of capital. And I think more generally, you could argue if you just really do like the fucking Austrian business cycle memes, you could do that. But yeah, you would say, oh, moral hazard leads to risky investments. It leads to more, at least individual bank failures. And then three, I think you could just do Austrian business cycle memes and justify it that way. Oh, they're going to set it below the natural rate of interest. And you could argue they might respond to like liquidity demands better, basically. Hashtag save the Fed. I agree, Dylan Thomas. Save the Fed is wild, MLAO. What is even happening right now? This is like econ ADHD. Valid. Gonna watch Brain Rot with my wife, PRP. Okay, thanks, Sauce Rama.
would be okay, according to your philosophy, if I fired everybody in this convention center and went to Bangladesh, for example, or Burkina Faso, or Belgium, although the Belgians are more expensive. And I said, I'm going to pay them $5 an hour. They're going to man the food stands, and they're going to be the security guards and do the work and run the center. Let's say there's 300 employees there. I have no idea. And he said, yeah, but they'd all get better jobs.
Have you considered that by merely arguing with me, you have demonstrated that you need to change people's minds via conversation and not via violence, which means that you accept the self-ownership principle. And from there, it logically follows that...
Well, the thing about libertarian philosophy, which I've always admired as an intellectual exercise, is that in the real world, it doesn't work. Because it assumes that everybody's acting rationally and honestly and decently. And that's not how people behave. So, for example, if you take a 50-year-old woman with diabetes who works at a food counter in Washington, D.C. at the convention center, who's got a special needs kid and takes care of her mom and 2 other kids, is she really just going to be able to find a better job right away? But let's say she goes back to nursing school and learns to be a nurse, and she gets a job as a nurse and makes more money. Well, we can replace her with a nurse from Nigeria. So then she has to go out and get another job. Or what about a security guard? Let's say he's got 10 years experience, he's got his hourly wage up a little bit. We can fire him and replace him with a guy from Ghana, say, who'd do the work for half the money. Well, what's he going to do? Maybe he's going to go learn to be a mechanic, and he does that for 2 years, gets a job as a mechanic, making $45 an hour, but we can replace him.
I don't like, obviously, I don't entirely disagree with him with the more fundamental point, but it is funny that he's kind of just ignoring the gains to the immigrants. Damn, switch from Labor to Green Party though, or thoughts. That's not as surprising. I don't know that much about their differences, to be honest. I know the Green Party is like more they tend to be more progressive, but I thought, or maybe I'm thinking of fucking Lib Dems or whatever. I remember that. No, I think I'm thinking of Lib Dems. I remember that. I think there was a point where Lib Dems were like trying to outflank the fucking Labor Party on some of the leftist issues, like with Palestine and shit. But
Sam, with a mechanic from Madagascar, makes $15 an hour, $5 an hour. So yeah, if you're only talking about human beings as robots, then absolutely that philosophy works. But if you bring morality into it and humanity and reality, then very quickly it breaks down. And so you do need to have rules that put the rights of children first, that put families first, and that frankly put Americans ahead of people in other countries who have nothing to do with us and to whom we owe absolutely nothing.
David, do people have a unique obligation to the people first in their family? You were accused of wanting Simon's daughter to work in the mines with her very small hands. First to their family, state, and country, meaning they have a higher obligation to people in closer proximity than they do to people in distant lands and other cultures, creating a constant insecurity that I can't just settle down and enjoy life. I have to constantly be competing to please consumer demand. How do you respond to that mindset?
I basically agree with it. I think we do have more of an obligation to our family and more an obligation to our neighbors than we do to other people. But just because I have more of an obligation to my family doesn't mean I can, take Simon's kid and sell him into slavery because it's going to benefit my kid. So the fundamental rule here is you don't violate the rights of other people to live their lives peacefully. Yes, you should protect your family, support your family, do whatever you need to do to help your neighbors and your community, except for doing things that violate the rights of other people to live their lives peacefully, including those of your neighbors. My neighbor is someone who's a U.S. citizen who's trying to marry someone in one of these.
Why should child labor be banned?
Trump...
Kids should be able to work if they want to. True, easy money. I obviously have a more favorable view of child labor than like most like Democrats or liberals or whatever. But I do think once a country is high enough productivity, it probably is it probably does just crowd out opportunities for education and long run human capital development. It probably is the case.
Trump administration has just banned from coming here. And so, yes, immigration policy should be seen in light of the rights of our community, of our society.
I mean, easy money, I think when people hear child labor, they, to be fair, don't typically kind of assume 14-year-old working at McDonald's part-time. I don't have strong opinions on that or whatever. But
and when you have immigration policy set by people who don't care about the rights of Americans, they don't care about the rights of individuals to live freely in this country, then you end up with what we're seeing now in the United States, where you have a papers police society, where you have rogue government agents demanding to see your papers and detaining you if you can't prove your right to stay here, where you have people who are going through the legal immigration process, who are married to U.S. citizens, being arrested, detained, and deported to horrible conditions abroad. This really, I mean, at its base, I think it's a total misdirection, total confusion of the issue to talk about.
Dude, my cat is gonna knock my fucking computer over, bro. Dude, he's getting tangled in words behind my computer.
About this in terms of the rights of foreigners and the right to come and do. No, it's our rights who are being impacted by this. It's
this fucking idiot, bro.
Our prosperity and our safety and freedom that's going to be negatively impacted when we adopt this philosophy that says we don't have a right to associate and contract and trade with people who happen to be born in other countries. And I mean, the whole idea of selling kids and all this, I mean, it's just a nonsensical attack on libertarianism. I mean, libertarians believe that look, I mean, we hear more about parent rights from conservatives and not having the government intrude into their, what they want to do with their kids than from anyone. So I don't, I think it's kind of a fallacious misdirection. We believe that kids have rights that should be protected by the government.
I don't think we should make it that child labor is even necessary, but it should be an option. I mean, it's just a, well, in my mind, it's just a question of what is doing the law or is having a law a net benefit or whatever. So if it on average, once a country is high enough productivity or whatever, if it on average will save is a weird word, will lead to more long run human capital development and lead to probably just more utility in terms of childhood happiness, right? That matters to some extent as well, obviously. If it does more good via that mechanism than harm via some poor families or some children who want to work can't work, you should do it.
Government from people who would try to coerce them into wrong behavior, but this really has nothing to do with
meow. Can you hear my cat when he meows?
With immigration policy. On immigration policy, our position is that protecting our rights to associate, contract, and trade will make our lives better. And that is
this fucking idiot. What do you want, bro?
Manifestly true. The free market produces all of the benefits that we're seeing in society. Allowing markets to work produces more wealth. Allowing people to come here, allowing us to purchase products produced in other countries increases our prosperity, because that is how the engine of wealth creation is created since Adam Smith. I mean, obviously even before that, but Adam Smith was the first one to kind of lay down what is the origin of wealth. The origin of wealth is in the specialization of labor. Through trade, we produce more for others. And so I really just think we're just getting in these weird hypotheticals. And he says in the real world, when he comes up with all of these hypothetical manufactured scenarios, when we know actually we have a whole tradition in the United States of having free immigration, where people came legally to the United States in huge numbers, way larger than we allow legally to immigrate today. And
didn't answer the child rape question.
It produced the Industrial Revolution and
typical libertarian.
That's why I asked if there were time limits, because that was a great filibuster, but there are just so many different directions that he's going in, but it's kind of hard to get a hold of one. But I guess you can pick where you want to go from there.
So let's take you responded to the creation of wealth concept. When it comes to, let's say that I am a nationalist and I just care about America, Simon. Does it necessarily follow that I want the state telling Americans who they can and can't associate with? Couldn't I take the position that I'm a nationalist, and that's why I don't think the state should be telling us Americans who we could voluntarily trade with, who we could sell houses to, who we can hire, because that disempowers America from the opportunity to trade freely? Couldn't the support for nationalism be taken?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how much.
I'm sorry, Simon.
To watch.
Has held, and I think the greatest attacks on the Constitution right now aren't coming from the immigrant cohort, but from the nationalists who want to turn us into an authoritarian dystopia right now.
True, though.
And that, to me, demonstrates that, look, our society is robust against, these, purported threats from, foreign ideologies. Bad at
stupid idea. There are a few exceptions for people who are mentally retarded, or they have some inability to learn a language. But most people should be capable of learning the language of the country in which they live. I speak at one point I spoke 5 languages, but I'm down to kind of 2.5 now. I think the biggest threat, though, is that we don't all play by the same rules. And I'll give you an example. This church break-in in Minneapolis. Now, I understand people who don't want immigration enforcement. I don't agree, but I understand their point of view. But there are rules, there are laws, and if you invade someone else's private property and you're asked to leave, then you are breaking trespassing and all kinds of state rules, state laws, in addition to the federal FACE Act. Now, it's pretty clear that Keith Ellison, the Attorney General in Minnesota, would not prosecute people on the conservative side, or on the left, rather, who were breaking those state rules. We have Larry Krasner in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, who said, even though he, I think, did not prosecute something like 65% of cases that were brought to him by the police.
Why did we even...
because he just didn't want to...
the fucking church shit. You're gonna watch the Super Bowl? I don't even know when the Super Bowl is. Probably not. Hold on, maybe I'm mistaken. There might have been some undocumented immigrants or just immigrants in general in the Minneapolis church or whatever, but I thought that was all... I thought it was like mostly U.S. citizens just protesting the fucking people who support ICE there. Am I wrong? It's all just about fucking Don Lemon. Who to my knowledge is not an immigrant. Anyone watching the Turning Point halftime show? Oh no. Yeah, it's all just fucking about Don Lemon. Wait, what's the Turning Point? What's the halftime? Oh wait, was that the fucking Kid Rock or whoever singing? I saw a clip of that. And JD Vance vibing to it.
Prosecuting people. He said he's going to go after federal agents who are carrying out federal laws at the direction of the executive based on laws passed by Congress, whether or not you like those laws.
And taking over our society and fundamentally transforming it in a negative way. Some people buy into that, accept that, but they're
like 55 years old, whereas the average black American is like 28 years old. So that is a huge...
Okay, what did I... Not fun, should we have open borders for every disabled person in a third world country to increase their standard of living? I don't know if I would go that far. I mean, I think obviously there probably should be lower standards if you're mentally disabled or whatever. And I think it'd just be a question of if you're asking like in a fundamental sense, kind of like, obviously I'm gonna do whatever has the highest expected value. I think like obviously the issue with that would be, I would imagine it would just be so at some margin, like if we just had completely open borders, like even though it would increase the standard of living for the people who like came here, it'd probably be so unpopular with voters and such that there'd just be a lot of negative outcomes sort of downstream from that with regards to potential future legislation against that type of stuff, with regards to like just general the issues that general discontent with the government can have. Anyway, okay, this real quick. We got Trump RX, bro. We got free fucking Ozempic. They said he wouldn't do it. We did it, folks. Woohoo. no ignore electorate, this is in a vacuum, then like you know, assuming if we're just assuming that it has like it increases the standard of living for them more than it harms the standard of living for us, and it's the net utility gain, then like yeah, I would say yeah. Being overcharged for medicine. The same drugs made in the same factories at the same dosages costing Americans up to 1,000% more than any other country. This is unacceptable. Oh my god. They'll immediately get a Medicaid and disability. So like I understand the potential issues with it. I'm assuming the reason you're asking this hypothetical is because you want me to assume that it is going to be a net benefit, that the benefits to them are going to outweigh the cost to us, and you want to test if I'm consistent in the way in saying like, oh, we have an obligation to arm ourselves to some extent to benefit others. I'm assuming that's the point of asking the question. I understand that there are costs to us. If the cost to us outweigh the benefit to them, then we shouldn't do it. It doesn't matter of principle, right? Like in a fundamental vacuum principle sense. Yes, assume the about, yeah, then I'm in favor of doing what's a net benefit. What's your income from streaming out of curiosity? I mean, it varies by how much I stream, obviously, and it varies quite a bit from month to month because a lot of it is like donations, like make up, like the sort of I don't know if they make up the majority like all time or anything, but like some months will make up like 80% of it, right? So peak month, I don't actually know. So I know like for all of 2025, I think I got roughly $1,200 from YouTube and like 300 from Twitch. I don't actually know my peak month though. Last 365 days. Need to start blogging. True. I do have a blog, but I haven't posted anything there in a bit. Last 365 days on YouTube, 2,389. BB apparently gets 20k yearly. Yeah, people make a lot of fucking money on Substack. And then, wait, hold on. How much is just my old time on YouTube? I bet it's probably not that much higher. Old time on YouTube, 2,700. On Twitch, earnings. Yo, thanks for the sub, Dylan Thomas. See now I gotta refresh. See now the earnings are gonna be higher. I don't think it updates that fast. Obviously. Oh my god, my fucking cat, bro. Hold on, where's the fucking date? Okay, let's just do, I don't know when I got affiliate on Twitch. All time on Twitch is 824. How much did I get the last year on Twitch? Well, of course it doesn't have to last 365 days. $519. And like half of that was one spike. Not half of it, but I got $63 one day. Made me remember lol. Yeah. Hell yeah. Biggest whale? I don't actually know the who it is exactly. It's either Patrol or do another subathon. I mean, I will do another subathon for the shrimp this summer. It's either Patrol, it might be Grassroots. It could be yeah, it could be grassroots. I think Patrol probably beats him though. In fairness, I do up cost, okay. I think technically, if you included like literally everything I use for streaming, which is not really fair because like I use my computer for streaming, but I use it mostly for other stuff. I probably have made a net loss. But obviously I don't think that's really fair because, you know, I use my computer for plenty of other stuff. Oh, gee, Trump RX. Yeah, I know. It's like half of this shit is like, what is it? It's operating cost plus 1K yearly? No. I wouldn't, no. Because like, I mean, like, I wouldn't say so. The only like, not variable cost, but monthly cost I have is like Restream, and that's $50 a month. And then, you know, my computer and microphone and stuff, that's all fixed cost, one-time thing, so. Marin Vaginal Cream, 50% off. I gotta get myself some fucking estrogen vaginal cream. Let's go. Can't you get multi-stream free? 50 a month is like half your earning. It kind of is. So you kind of can. You can either, so that like there is you can multi-stream to 2 outputs with Restream for free, but for one it's 720p. I don't want to do that. That sucks. And for 2, it's well, only 2 outputs. Non-fun bought older vaginal cream and now it's sold out. This is true. And I want to be able to have at least 4, right? Which is oh, you know what? Fucking Twitter. That's also a cost. That's $8 a month. I pay for Twitter Premium so I can stream there or whatever. Probably not really worth it. Do you need prescriptions for these? I believe so. There might be. I think anything that's RX, you need a fucking prescription for. I don't actually know what the what actually is RX. Wait, RX drugs or prescription drugs are, wait, is this a synonym for a prescription? The term RX acts as a short abbreviation for prescription. Oh, okay. I thought it was more meaningful than that. Yo, is this fucking estrogen too? Who knows how much shit this will actually do. I didn't look that far into it. I don't, it could end up being another fucking basically nothing burger. The entry point for consumers to search for their drugs and buy them elsewhere at different pharmacies or websites. Major manufacturers. Struck a series of deals with major drug makers, promoting its efforts to lower drug prices. Researchers who studied drug pricing warned that many people would pay too much if they used Trump RX. Trump RX site features 43 medicines, including well-known, widely used products like insulin, inhalers, popular weight loss drugs, Wegovy, and Zepbound, and a copycat version of Humira, used for conditions like arthritis. Blah, 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 blah. Unlikely that many consumers will save money by using Trump RX. Nearly all drugs on the site are already widely covered through insurance. Some are available as inexpensive generics from competing manufacturers. A person who has a low out-of-pocket cost for a drug through insurance could waste hundreds of dollars a year paying out-of-pocket through Trump RX. Oh yeah, I saw this warning on the thing. I had to look through the website, and they, indeed, they don't seem to sell anything directly themselves. Yeah, it's literally just fucking coupons. Just collates existing deals where you meet certain qualifications to enjoy this discount. I thought it was like new discounts yet, at least. Not fine. Can you do some econometrics and find the effect on pharmaceutical innovation? I don't actually know how big this one would be. I mean, it's weird because I assume, well, for one, this is you know, these are drugs already covered by like insurers, and I don't know what so I don't know how many people are going to use it, and I imagine, you know, what kind of matters is expected profits, and I don't think Trump RX will be a thing post Trump, right? So I don't actually think the effect on pharmaceutical innovation from this would be very big. You know, I mean, it's obviously, I mean, it's the same thing like the tariff, like pass through. Like, you don't see firms passing through the full cost of tariffs to consumers, partly because they are uncertain about how long the tariffs will like actually last and stuff. So, and they know it probably won't be many of them after the next president gets elected. Even if it's a Republican, they probably won't do that many tariffs. But I would have to guess these deals are pretty similar to like the deals he's made with like certain tech companies. Where they're not like crazy meaningful, and they probably won't last long after Trump's gone. Doesn't even provide discounts like GoodRx or fulfill orders. They simply point you to existing I mean, what's the source for that easy money? I thought, my understanding was that, I mean, the New York Times article just said that they were part of deals that Trump made with pharmaceutical drug makers, which I've seen. Which I've seen headlines about before. Like I've seen headlines about Trump meeting with some of them and such. But it could be another one of Trump's. If we're gonna exaggerate a bit to get the headlines. He's lying. MFN got struck down in courts. Yeah, I know, but that's but that would say like executive. That wasn't a deal. That was just like his like executive order saying "fuck you." I'm doing this, right? I think this is referring to supposed like deals you got. I don't know. Click on one to see for yourself. I don't even think they cite them. I mean, whatever you're fucking reading or whatever, just link it in Discord. Click on a Trump RL. Like this. If you want me to. I ain't seeing much. have to qualify for hardship exemptions to get that price. Sure. I don't even see that. But it's not like that. I would not, you know, that wouldn't be surprising to me or anything. Would not put it past Trump, but I just don't like. I don't know where you get like just link a just like link something. What's up, Amphibious Orca? Just stopping by, feeling sick and zooted off NyQuil. Well, you know, that doesn't sound like a fun combination. Available to patients with commercial insurance or are paying cash. Patients enrolled in Medicare, Medicaid, or other government-funded health programs are not eligible. That seems like the exact opposite of what you're saying. New self-pay patients pay $199 for the first monthly pills. Offer valid between blah blah blah. Offer not valid for patients enrolled in Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE. Subject to change or discontinuation. Valid only at participating pharmacies. Cannot be combined with other offers or discounts. Isn't this what? This is saying if you're already enrolled in the like assistance programs, you don't get it. It's for people who have private insurance or are paying cash. That sounds like the opposite of what you're saying with it, is it not? For 2 months is a scam? Wait, but is that not like the opposite of what you're saying? You have to qualify for hardship exemptions to get the right, like it's like the opposite of what it's like for people who don't already have hardship. If you have hardship, you're presumably eligible for Medicare, Medicaid, or other government-funded healthcare programs. Or TRICARE. What's up, man? Okay. It strikes me as like again the opposite of what you're saying. Not that it's good or anything. It might be obviously it's fucking stupid for 2 months and stuff, but meant for majority drugs. Well, then link the source for that. Okay. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it would not it would not surprise me. I just did not. That's just not what I'm seeing. Back? Oh, well. Might have some unfortunate news for you, Sauce Rava. I think I've got some places to be. I don't know. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna edit. And we just have to edit. And then... Yeah, we're chilling. Okay. I'm gonna go edit shit and then go to bed. I won't stream again tomorrow because I have to do school work, but they hit the second tower. Yeah, I'm sorry to break this to you, but they actually... That's not all they hit. Okay, they came after the... They went after the Pentagon too. It's horrible. But anyway, okay. You're heading over to Peace Girl on YouTube. Do I have enough viewers to even raid on Twitch? Yeah, it's not worth it. Fuck it. Yeah, see you guys not tomorrow, but yo, shit, Shapringo, thanks for the gifted sub. Hell yeah. Anyway. Bye, Shapringo. Okay, but yeah, I do appreciate it, Shapringo. Live streaming, love to guys watch you stream. They're streaming, again, maybe the day after tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah, love you guys. See you later. Appreciate it. Toby's go said hi.